captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
A great Friday morning to everybody out there. Thank you for closing out the week with us. Praying for your weekend of love. There you go. In a positive direction. No promises there, certainly. Kevin Bowe and James Boyd and Mark Dykton with you here as we close out the week. Thad Matta, 8:30. Doug Bowles, 9 o'clock. Let's go around the horn. Why, James Boyd, why did you want to get into this business? Let's go real philosophical. Let's go deep here on this Friday morning. You know, we're trying to romance here. We're going to get real into our inner feelings.
So for the love of the game is what you're asking.
Yeah. Why do you want to pursue this lucrative business here that is sports media, right?
But I would say
all the ladies that you get because
of
it.
you know, when you're
both sides of you. I mean, there's hanging off.
When you're a beat writer, man, it's like being on the LA Lakers. You know, all the groupies show up after the game and everything. What hotel you staying in? That sort of thing. But nah, in all seriousness, I think for me it was realizing very early on, hey, I'm not going to the NBA. That's the dream for every kid or the NFL or whatever. So how do I stay close to the game? And I remember being in college and not really knowing what I want to do with my career or what I wanted to major in, really. I just kind of went, and one of my buddies one night, after I posted something, I think on Instagram, he's like, hey, you got a way with words. You should just pursue it. So I changed my major from the communications to journalism, maybe my sophomore year of college or junior year, and I was telling myself, hey, just go all in on it. If it doesn't work out, hey, you got a degree from the University of Illinois. You will not go hungry. But if it does work out, you might actually enjoy what you do for a living. So here I am now 8 years into my career and having a blast.
So you did not get into the business to write about a league that incentivizes their teams to try and lose to get higher up in draft standings. And then the team that you kind of cover is, I guess, resting players, but there's a ton of gray area in the definition of that. So now you're up late on a Thursday night to write about said team that was half away from the NBA Finals that is now being fined $100,000 because they're trying to lose.
Did not get in the business for that. And I'm glad you might have thought of me in that moment, Kevin, because I was sitting on the couch chilling, probably about to, I think, fire up one of the streaming apps to see what new shows might have come out. And I see that drop. And what irritated me, not only, we'll get into the I can't even say facts of the matter because I think a lot of this stuff is subjective, which is ridiculous when it comes to the Pacers and the Jazz. But when I'm going through the process of like getting the information, Kevin, I'm thinking to myself, why didn't the NBA release this earlier? When I first saw the notification, I thought it was for what we had just saw again with the resting of the back-to-back.
Right.
But
Wednesday night, I guess.
But this was, they were penalized for a game February 3rd against the Jazz, which was now 10 days ago. And I'm thinking to myself, why could you not put this out at noon? Like, why did you put this out at 9 o'clock at night or whatever it was? That was weird to me.
And
but yeah,
the Jazz were getting ready to tip last night. They actually played last night.
Exactly.
So okay, let's start with the facts. And I couldn't agree with you more. There are very subjective, I think, parts to this. Frankly, a lot of it, a ton of gray area. And I will add to this, James. I don't know if there's a topic that we discuss on the radio that I hate more than this very topic. Like, I despise talking about this. Like, it's you, me, and Mark for 3 hours. If I would love to just put this to the back burner and not discuss it at all, but that's not the reality of the news cycle. We have to, but I just am so, and we've barely talked, we've only talked about it really for like a week or two. In serious, manner, but I cannot stand the tanking debate, all of it that comes off of it. It is the last reason why I would ever want to get into this business, but that's not, unfortunately, the bed that I guess we're lying in here on this Friday morning. So yes, as you said, last night at 8:30, the NBA sends this out. They have fined the Utah Jazz for $500,000. Now, the fine for the Jazz is related to conduct detrimental to the league. And so this is, I guess, rooted in they have played some of their star guys,
yes,
but then they remove them from the game late, i.e. the fourth quarter. So they get a $500,000 fine. Now, just to remind everybody, the Jazz they previously were fined.
Yes.
for some of the tanking, resting. Again, I say all that in quotes, so I don't know if this is a second offense, third offense, however you want to look at it. Whereas the Pacers were fined $100,000, so 100 compared to 500,000. They were fined due to player participation, and I'm glad you pointed out what game it was, because I think fans just see the headline and they assume it was the Knicks or the Nets this week. According to the league, this was that Jazz game last Tuesday. It was the second night of a back-to-back. It was just prior to the trade deadline, and that is a game that they did sit Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. I believe those players, I think Siakam was referenced directly, correct?
Yes.
In the release, and then they mentioned 2 starters as well.
And that would be Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith.
For what it's worth, they did rest Benedict Mathurin in that game too,
Yeah.
but again, he was not mentioned even indirectly in that piece there. So I think that covers all of the facts. Are there any other actual facts we are missing? $100,000 for the Pacers, $500,000 for the Jazz. Again, the Jazz, because they took their players out within a game.
Right.
For the Pacers, they didn't even play their guys.
Right. And I will add this in. The league did an investigation into Pascal Siakam resting that day. I believe Aaron Nesmith was out with an injury as well, and Andrew Nembhard was out with an injury. Nesmith had a left hamstring. I'm looking at my notes here. And then Nembhard had a lower back injury management. So the NBA stepped in with an independent physician and reviewed, I believe, the medical records of Siakam and Andrew Nembhard and Nesmith, and determined that they could have played in that game against the Jazz, which is why ultimately the Pacers were fined. And now, again, I'm not saying I agree with this, so we're just the messengers here on 107.5 The Fan, so don't get mad at me, KB, and Mark, but that is what happened. And what I find interesting, Kevin, is that in the ruling, if you want to call it that, from the NBA, they said, essentially for the Pacers, the team could have held the players out of other games in a way that would have better promoted compliance with the player participation policy. But then my question is, how do you determine that? Because that, to me, is when it gets into the gray area of all of this. And then to kind of tie it back to the Jazz, in their scenario, you're penalizing them for substitutions. And I get that we can all see what they're trying to do, but I do think you open Pandora's box when you penalize teams for what you think they should be doing from a coaching standpoint. Because keep in mind, they did win, I believe, one of those games against the Miami Heat where they took Jaren Jackson Jr. out, Lauri Markkanen, and their better players, and they won the game. So, again, if you go down that slope, it is a very, very slippery one for the league. And I'm very interested now for All-Star Weekend, not for anything that's going to go on, but for what Adam Silver has to say, because usually at these league-wide events, the commissioner will speak, whether it's the NBA, NFL, MLB. What does he have to say about this and how we answer for this? Because I do think this is starting to become a black mark on the league, and you're the head of the league. How do you fix this? Because you're penalizing teams that have been incentivized to do exactly what we're seeing.
Right. Yeah, you have incentivized these teams to try and lose. And what I really struggle with is, what is the black and white of the rules? You read off the rules earlier this week. First off, I had no idea there were rules on this, because to me,
I got your back, KB. We're a team.
Thank you for that. Because to me, again, there's so much gray area. How do you define, so the Pacers got fined for Pascal Siakam resting, okay?
Right.
Pascal Siakam has played in 51 of 55 games at the All-Star break.
No, it's ridiculous.
Pascal Siakam has played the most minutes of any season he's been with the Pacers this year. He rested on the second night of a back-to-back. Walk me through how many times Pacer opponents have rested guys against Indiana this season. Not because their guys need rest, because Indiana's not good. And they've looked at that as an opportunity to rest guys and potentially still get a win. It just doesn't add up of when you decide to actually throw the hammer down and when do you not. I also thought about this independent doctor. Do you think he's the most hated human to walk around the Pacers? Can you imagine? Oh, geez. Do you see who's walking in the room right now?
Oh, man.
You got a better chance of, John Halliburton walking into the Bucks locker room and being more beloved than you do
dabbing up Giannis.
This independent doctor all of a sudden walking in there, taking a look at Siakam's hammy. So, yes, there's so many questions. Adam Silver, State of the Union, to your point. I'm curious what this will do to the Pacers' plan post All-Star break, if at all.
Oh, yes.
Now, again, fines are fines. Like I said it yesterday, I think you can only go so far. But if this is the league finally saying we are going to do something about this, whether you like it or not, you have to acknowledge it.
Yes.
And my question become, when does this grow to more? Does it get to a point where, whatever, you start to say to teams, hey, if you get second, third, fourth offense, we're taking that pick and we're putting you at the back of the lottery? Because that's when you're going to see a lot of it. And I struggle with the whole resting of players. I really do. I know everyone, I would say I'm in the minority of this. The majority of people say, this is BS. Guys rest. That is a joke. You know, I'm working my 9 to 5 in the construction zone. They can go play 82 nights out of the year. But James, I think back to late last season when we had Rick Carlisle on the show and one of us asked him about Pascal Siakam's late season struggles. And Rick Carlisle said he needs a break. He needs to sit. So what happened? Pascal Siakam sat 3 of the final 5 games of the season. Did any Pacer fan cry about that? Nobody bitched and moaned. And then what happened? Pascal Siakam went in the playoffs and played great. So, like, there are times where I'm like, yeah, would I love for every star to play 82 nights out of the year? Sure. But the reality is they are playing a physical sport. And sometimes sitting and resting, while it's a bummer for the fan that bought the tickets, if that all of a sudden means my all-star player becomes an all-star when the playoffs are here, why am I going to care as a fan? So, like, that's where I do get torn on this. And I get that not every case is like that, to be clear. But there are times where we've seen star players rest against the Pacers this season, star players of good teams.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if I am, let's just say, whatever, if I'm a Pistons fan with Cade Cunningham, why would I give 2 bleeps about game 52 against the Pacers when Cade Cunningham's played 6 out of 7 nights or 16 out of 17, where I look at it and say, oh, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury? All that matters is he good to go come playoff time? And if him sitting, you know, the Halliburton debate a few years ago with him and the hammy, and do you play him? Do you not play him? You know, all this. So that's where I do struggle with this big time.
Absolutely. We can get into a lot more of this after the break. I'll read you what Adam Silver had to say in his statement to both the Pacers and the Jazz. And then also get into a few of the weeds here to explain some of your questions, Kevin, about, you know, end of season rest, star players, and some of the, what I believe to be loopholes that are kind of built into these quote unquote rules that are not hard and fast, not black and white by any means.
I hate this topic.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting, but I feel like we got to be educators this morning.
No, but I hate it. Like, I'm just like, dude, I mean, it's a nice college basketball slate. I'd love to pick apart your Colts mock draft over here.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many other things. I'd like to look back on NBA All-Star Weekend a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. But the tank must, you know, tank.
100 days out.
They're taking our show.
From the 2026 Indianapolis 500.
Hopefully keep listening to us.
Doug Bowles will join us coming up at 9 o'clock. Mark, for that first 12-minute rant, let's go Butler 4-pack. Butler Seton Hall. 6 o'clock, I want to say, on Sunday. If you stuck with us there for the first 12 minutes of the show. Text line, Mark, is that easiest for you?
Oh, yeah.
Name and email. Butler 4-pack, Butler Seton Hall coming up Sunday night. Thad Matta will join us here at 8:30. Good Friday morning to you, Kevin Bowe and James Boyd, Mark Dykton, 93.5 on 107.5 The Fan. I want to pull my hair out on this Friday morning. If I do that again, certainly call up We Grow Hair Indy. It went very well the first time. You can see online, WeGrowHairIndy.com, before and after pictures and videos of different procedures that they do offer. They are the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration. It's funny. I get people all the time asking about, hey, what was your situation? Blah, blah, blah. Is it just one surgery procedure that they do for everybody? And that's not true at all. They will cater to something to you. My situation different than, frankly, a lot of people that have had procedures done at We Grow Hair Indy. I had the Artis Robotic FUE procedure. Basically, I had good hair in the back. They took that, they threw it back up top. If you got a crown issue, they will certainly address that as well. That was not me, but that's something they definitely specialize in. So again, this is We Grow Hair Indy, the gold standard for hair restoration, Northwest Side, building number 2 at the Pyramids, and online, WeGrowHairIndy.com.
Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Well, who wants to talk about actual sporting events and you can talk about fines for resting basketball players? Yeah, here we are. Good Friday morning to you. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton. We unfortunately have to lead off the morning check down with the news from last night, James. At about 8:30, the NBA sends out a statement that the Utah Jazz have been fined $500,000 and the Indiana Pacers have been fined $100,000 for different resting mechanisms. Again, I say that in quotes. We've given some editorial in the opening segment. We'll continue to do that throughout the show, but as best you can, lay out as little of facts as there is as to why these fines occurred.
So for the Pacers in particular, they were fined because in a game against the Jazz on February 3rd, which is not a very recent game in my opinion, but February 3rd, they lost to the Jazz in that game. Second night of a back-to-back, they did not play Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, and Benedict Mathurin. The NBA came out and said that they had an independent physician look at Siakam and two other starters and determine that they could have played and should have played. So therefore, the Pacers were essentially fined for tanking. And then for the Jazz, they got $500,000 fined to them because of a couple of games where they played their star players, quote unquote, up until the fourth quarter, and then they sat them through that final period. They were fined, I believe, for what the league defined as contract detrimental to the league. And I also believe that the Jazz got fined for this something similar to this last year, which is perhaps why their fine is bigger than the Pacers. There you have it.
Again, much more on this, our reaction to it. I guess we'll get into potentially what it could look like after the All-Star break. I will note one thing. Chad Buchanan, Pacers GM, made some of the media rounds. I know he's on with John. I believe, he had a one-on-one with Tony East.
Yes.
And he said to Tony that, and this is before the fine news came out last night, that their plan is to play Ivica Zubac at some point here. So, I'm very curious exactly what all of this will mean to the Pacers when they get back from the All-Star break. Again, that is on Thursday. They'll have a back-to-back with the Wizards. All right, college basketball, mercifully, this weekend. We can finally talk about it. Purdue is at Iowa. I did see, and we kind of thought this exiting the Nebraska win, Joe Lunardi has flipped Purdue. They're up to the 2-seed line. I believe he's got Purdue as the 7th overall seed. So opportunity galore for Purdue to continue to strengthen an already impressive resume. Again, that is at Iowa, coming off a loss to Maryland, Iowa, over the weekend. They are Bennett Sturts, and that's about it. So that's 5 o'clock on Saturday on Big Fox. For the Boilers, the Indiana Hoosiers will take on the Fighting James Boyds. That is 1 o'clock CBS. Will they be chanting "Let's play football" in that one? Will they go high school student section chant there? I guess it's at the other assembly hall.
Yeah, it's at the other assembly hall. So I believe down there in Champaign is how I'll put it. And we should just start guarding Lamar Wilkerson now. I can see him breaking my heart right now, and I'm just like, I've done enough. Have I not suffered enough after the football game, after all the trash I talked? I'm being a little humble this time around.
Heartbreak.
Illinois, bring that belt out and whoop IU for me, please. I need that to happen.
And heartbreak for your Illini earlier this week, right? That was a wild game with Wisconsin.
2-game skid, a couple of close losses there, but overall, jokes aside, I have enjoyed a lot of Big Ten basketball as of late. IU surging. Purdue kind of got back on track. Illinois has been playing very well, and Michigan State. So there's a lot of teams that could go on a run from this conference. Yeah, and one thing to note, too, I feel like with Indiana, they're in a very nice position, I think, tournament-wise. Yes.
I think just getting one more of the big ones. This one, Purdue, I think they still have Michigan State. Even at Ohio State, from a resume standpoint, I think would look pretty good there. As long as they get one more and avoid the disaster, I think they'll be comfortably into the tournament. A reminder, undefeated Miami, Ohio. That is tonight, 9 o'clock on ESPN. We had Travis Steele on earlier this week, the head coach of the final undefeated team in all of college basketball. Speaking of college basketball, did see Caleb Wilson, a player that I think is super skilled from North Carolina, broken left hand. We will see when he returns there. Caleb Wilson, right? Not
that's why you got the Williams. Ding. You got it right.
Thank you, Mark. I don't get many dings from you, so I should just take it and
take it
move on. Speaking of college sports, well, if we were doing a show in Mississippi right now, instead of talking about NBA tanking, we'd be talking about an injunction where we need the address to who the judge is, and we can all give them flowers and chocolates for Valentine's Day. Is this correct?
Pretty much. You wanna break it
Trinidad
down?
Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, has been granted an injunction by a judge in the state of Mississippi to be eligible for a 6th season of college football. James
Where
Boyd,
did the judge get his master's?
the
degree?
judge, is from what state?
Mississippi.
His master's degree?
Ole Miss. I love it.
Hollywood would laugh at that script. They'd say, we got to do something that's a little bit more believable, right?
It's nuts. But I did actually go back and read through like why he tried to get a 6th season. Something to do with when he was at, I think, Division II Ferris State.
State, yeah.
And he sat out an entire year, I believe in 2022, due to respiratory issues. So he didn't play. So he's saying I should have gotten a medical red shirt for that season. I understand that from the outside looking in, you can be like, man, every kid wants more time. I do think he had a legitimate case or argument to make, but boy, it still doesn't help for the overall discussion of should college athletes, be paid? Should they move on? How much eligibility do they have? But Chambliss, I think, has earned the right to have a 6th season personally.
Order in the court. I do declare a 6th year for you, Mr. Chambliss. Court is adjourned.
That is great.
I am dying laughing. And then you see the judge tailgating in the Grove here.
I mean,
in a
they
couple
showed
months.
him autographing a football in the courtroom.
Some of the images are incredible. Like literally, I'm like, this is a fake movie. There's no. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine this in Indiana? Braden Smith all of a sudden walks in the courtroom and the judge has got candy stripes on and just walks right back out.
That judge's going to be sitting courtside next year. What are you talking about?
Fernando Mendoza walks in there and all of a sudden, you've got the big old Purdue drum in the corner.
Just wild.
Going to bring out the
man.
game ball to the referee.
Incredible.
It's all about who you know, right?
Yes, preach. Sounds like the NCAA will appeal on that. Winter Olympics from yesterday, USA. Are you into the U.S. hockey, Mark? You're a little bit more of a hockey guy than James and I.
I have not yet. No, I didn't watch them play Latvia yesterday. I know they took care of business, but I will probably get locked in a little bit more. I'm still getting in my Olympic swerve a little bit. I feel like it's taking a little getting into.
Brock Nelson, 2 goals. I didn't realize his uncle was on the 1980 Olympic team, and the Kachuk brothers, right? Silent K on that.
Correct.
Matthew and Brady there. I think it was Brady that scored the opening goal or one of the early goals yesterday for Team USA. U.S. women's hockey, they've got the home team. They got Italy in the quarterfinal round. I did watch some of the speed skating yesterday, like the short track. There were 3 crashes within the first, turn or two. I had it on mute, so I didn't, and I'm like, wait, how does this work? Does everybody get a free crash? Does everyone get a false start? I was very confused, but it was great theater, great drama. It was very nerve-wracking. Luckily, the United States woman was able to make her way through, but I was very confused watching that yesterday. Shout out to girls basketball regionals around the state and wrestling semi-state. Wrestling semi-state always in a big old gym. What do we got? Newcastle, Allen Memorial. I think it's East Chicago up in the region, Ford Center down there. So I know it's always a big Saturday in the wrestling world. So that is happening this weekend here in the state of Indiana. Greg Straw at 8, Thad Matta at 8:30, Doug Bowles at 9. Let's talk tanking and resting and fines. Call me excited. We'll do that on the other side.
Then I knew she could make me happy. She could make me happy. Flowers in her hair, flowers everywhere.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, when I think of love, I think of 100 days out until the running of the Indianapolis 500. Doug Bohl's going to join us coming up here at 9 o'clock. I believe they are 10% ahead of ticket sales based off last year. I think the best mark since the 100th running in 2016. So continuing arrow pointing up there when it comes to 500. And I was thinking about on the drive in today a little bit back to a couple of years ago when we had the NBA All-Star weekend here in Indy. Now, today's supposed to be pretty nice out, I think. I think we're like in a stretch here of like 50-degree weather.
50s and 60s.
Do you remember the Friday of NBA All-Star weekend? We got like that ice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
remember
it
that?
was rough, man.
Mm-hmm.
That was a logistical nightmare when it came to driving.
You guys got a favorite memory from that All-Star weekend? I think for the most part, all of us did some sort of activity downtown.
Yeah, I went to whatever the NBA event was at the convention center. Girls had a blast at that.
We did the
So
show from there on that
Yeah,
Friday.
uh-huh.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Shooting up shots at like the what is it the what is it
Starry.
Starry yeah
Mhm.
Starry 3-point
Shooting
range
bricks.
mark,
Yep.
showing the jumper. It actually reminds me of WNBA All-Star Weekend. They had the same thing for the media, and I bricked every single three in the event until the last one. And I had a lady recording me for work. I had to send in some kind of like social media video. And I told her, hey, we're going to cut the camera a little short and just show the make at the end, and we'll all agree on that. And she got a kick out of that. But anyways.
Just tether it together like 6 times in a row. Look at this.
Exactly.
Flush every time.
You know, with this AI technology, you can make you do a lot of things out there on
Jumper's
the court.
perfect. Beef, balance, eyes, elbow, follow
There you
through.
go.
Every time.
But I would say for myself, it probably had to do with getting a chance to interview Shaquille O'Neal at a TNT event and talking to Reggie Miller at another event. Those are pretty cool because those are guys I saw on television, obviously competed in the finals against each other. And then ultimately, I did a big story on Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, not Halliburton. Halliburton, who was at the time still kind of like a rising star. And I believe Charles Barkley told me at the time, hey, I think this league is going to be his. And I wrote the story, and people were like, oh, he's being way too nice. He's just in the host city, whatever. And then you look up a couple years later, and they're in the finals, led by one of the more clutch runs you'll ever see. So that was fun.
Didn't you do the Woj event at the Vogue? Wasn't that something?
Yeah, we did. So that was Adrian Wojnarowski hosting a live podcast at the Vogue. We like introed it, and it was with Grant Hill and Tyrese Halliburton. And at that point,
Wow, isn't that something?
Grant Hill was Team USA director or whatever, general manager.
Yeah.
I forget his exact title. And then Tyrese, of course, was trying to make Team USA. That was really cool, Mark. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the Saturday night festivities at Lucas Oil. First off, I thought it was pretty cool that we did it over at Lucas Oil. And put the court in the end zone there. You were able to get probably double the amount of attendance than you would if you had it over at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And I was laughing thinking about on the drive in, the Pacers contingent won the opening event that night. It was, what I forget what they call it, the skills challenge or whatever. That was Benedict Mather, Miles Turner, and Tyrese Halliburton winning that. And I honestly thought the coolest event of Saturday night was Sabrina Ionescu against Steph Curry.
Oh, I take it back. That's probably the moment. I got to cover that.
And
boy,
Sabrina shot the lights out. Like
Man.
Steph didn't. I mean, Steph had to walk out there and have a big time performance.
I'm getting chills thinking about it. That was theater, Kevin.
And I just like the rise in the crowd noise when Sabrina hit. I forget how many she hit in a row. I feel like it was 6, 7, something like that.
That was on purpose. That was totally on purpose.
In a row. What do you mean?
Shameless.
I thought that was pretty smooth. When she hit that many in a row, I mean, the crowd, that was the loudest they were all night. More so than the dunk contest.
Oh, man.
More so than, I forget who won the 3-point. Maybe it was Lillard or somebody like that. But I thought that was really cool. I don't think we've had that since, have we?
We have not. And I think a lot of that, not to say it's her fault, but I think the WNBA and the NBA wants Caitlin to be the next female challenger in that event.
I mean, I get that, but I enjoyed watching Sabrina Ionescu shoot.
I know, but I feel like, hey, if you want to invite her back, make it a 2v2. Get Klay Thompson and Steph Curry out there, the Splash Brothers, and then get, Caitlin and Sabrina out there as well. But I would say this, being there in the moment, Kevin, there was that maybe like 2-minute period between when Sabrina finished and Steph is getting ready to go where you're thinking, is she going to knock off the GOAT? And then Steph reminds the world, like, yeah, she's great, but I am the greatest. And so that was awesome. And honestly, that's probably the one event that I still tune in for is a three-point contest.
And again, if you look at the field and the three-point contest, I mean, it still has a star-studded group.
Yes.
Actually, Damian Lillard will shoot this year, even though he's out for the season.
That
with
might be
that
tuning in, honestly.
torn Achilles. So yeah, that is definitely much more of a headline group than the dunk contest is you're going to have Google close by you to realize who is in it. Reminder again, Thad Matta, 8:30. Doug Bowles, 100 days out from the Indianapolis 500. He will join us. Hell, the temperature today probably looks like what it was on race day last year. He will join us coming up at 9 o'clock. Let's get back into the story that I absolutely hate discussing, but you can't live under a rock, and that is the Pacers fined last night by the NBA $100,000. And again, this is for sitting Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, and Aaron Nesmith back last Tuesday, a game they lost. I think there's a little bit of a confusion on when the penalty occurred. And again, I say penalty in quotes. This is for last Tuesday against the Jazz here. James, I was unfamiliar that there are rules to resting guys.
Yes.
You have alluded to some of them. I am curious, like, what stands out to you about any of these rules? Because that's where I struggle. I'm like, you could fine any team. It'd be walking into the IU tailgate fields and picking out one person for underage drinking. It's like, no, you could pick out 100. So I'd argue all 30 teams do some form of resting here throughout the course of NBA season. So the last thing I want is for you to read off a rule book, but I guess I'm asking you to provide maybe a couple of and I say interesting, a couple of things that stood out to you in looking into this a little bit more.
Yeah, so I know a few people immediately were like, well, hey, the Lakers were on television the other day and they rested Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and I believe Austin Reeves in that game against the Spurs and Wemby. So they were like, why aren't they getting fined for that? They missed all their stars. But I think personally the implication is that they're a playoff team. So maybe they get looked at through a different lens, and perhaps the NBA looked at their injuries and said, hey, these are legitimate or whatever the case may be. But I also want to say that if they were going to get fined based off of what we saw with the Pacers, it might take a while for that to happen. Now, when it comes to LeBron James in particular, because people were like, hey, he's been resting back-to-backs, the rule for him is different because of his age. So the NBA has a clause in this back-to-backs part of their rest rule where it says if you are age 35 or older on opening night, then you are able to request back-to-backs from the league that are pre-approved. The same goes for if you have played over 34,000 minutes in the regular season and playoffs.
Sounds like Mark's PTO here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unbelievable.
I'm an old man. I need some rest.
Exactly. The same thing as if you've played like over 1,000 NBA games, and 1,000 is a lot. Because I was looking at Siakam, I was like, man, how close is he to 1,000? He's only at 680. So it will be quite a while before he gets to that. Now, obviously, I didn't think I added up the playoff games, but he's well below 1,000. So all that to say, Pascal Siakam at 31 can't rest as many back-to-backs as LeBron James at 41. Just to explain that part of it. And then to answer your other, or kind of explain your other part a little bit clearer from earlier in the show, Kevin, I know you mentioned, well, hey, at the end of the season last year, they did rest Pascal Siakam. How come they didn't get fined then for, not tanking, but for not participating with the player policy? And the NBA has another clause in here that is called literally end of season flexibility, where teams who have clinched a playoff spot, if they're trying to get healthier, trying to get rest, the NBA will not necessarily penalize them because they know they're trying to get ready for the bigger stage being the postseason. So hopefully that explains a little bit of it. There's other different clauses in here. And again, I still think even when reading this, there is more gray area than not. And the last thing I'll read is, so how the NBA defines a star player and why Pascal in particular got called out in this NBA fine is that the NBA defines a star player as someone who within the last 3 years has been named to the All-NBA team or an All-Star team, which is the case for Pascal Siakam, which is why, hey, when the criticism comes or the microscope comes out, he's the first one they look at.
Oh my gosh, man.
Hopefully I explained that in English for you all
You
listening.
did, but gosh, it's so damn exhausting.
It is. Can I read what the commissioner said? I don't think we put that out there here on the show. Here's what.
And you're talking about last night's statement.
Last night.
Because again, just to remind
Yes.
everybody, the Jazz got fined $500,000 for a different thing than the Pacers got
Right.
fined $100,000 for.
Right. The Pacers got fined for player participation, policy violations, and then with the Jazz, it was quoted as conduct detrimental to the league, where they pointed out, hey, you had your starters in there, your star players, and then you yanked them in the fourth quarter a couple times in some games. So here's what Adam Silver said in regard to the Jazz and the Pacers. Overt behavior like this that prioritizes draft position over winning undermines the foundation of NBA competition, and we will respond accordingly to any further actions that compromise the integrity of our games. Additionally, we are working with our competition committee and board of governors to implement further measures to root out this type of conduct. So, AKA, you all got popped for tanking.
So if the Pacers got in trouble last Tuesday against the Jazz, then what would you call Wednesday night with the Nets?
I would say
didn't they do the same thing again?
I would call it TBD. We got to get the independent physician to come in and test
Dear
the guys
Lord,
and
man.
see if it happens again. Which is, again, it's such a stupid song and dance because you're penalizing teams for incentivizing or working with how the league rules help them build a better team. And I don't want to dismiss this. It's two small market teams. Like if you're going to penalize teams for trying to tank, which I don't love tanking, but I understand it, for trying to land a star, realistically, how else are the Pacers and the Jazz going to get a star if you don't trade for it or if you don't draft one? These are not free agency destinations. I'm not going to be like, Patty, you know I love Indianapolis, but I'm not going to pretend Indianapolis is New York or LA or somewhere else. So that to me is a bigger conversation. It's like, well, do you want your smart market teams to succeed?
I guess where I'm confused is just, again, who are you actually punishing and who are you not? Like, why aren't the Wizards being punished?
I agree.
You know, like
the
that's
Anthony
Kings.
Davis out for the rest of the season
Yeah,
thing.
Kings, you could play to that as well. I mean,
I agree
you
with
know,
Mark
there's a
there,
part
too.
of seeing the Jaren Jackson Jr. news yesterday. Now he needs knee surgery. Are you telling me this didn't flare up during the trade and he passed a physical? Like all of this is just confusing to me. Like
Yeah.
there is not black and white elements to whatever. You showed up late, for example, and we can look at the time on the clock, see
Yeah.
that you were late, therefore you are
penalize you.
punished.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's what I think. I mean, you read off those rules, and I mean, I guess I just don't hear a lot of black and white, and
Yeah.
that's what I really struggle with. And again, let's go through the Pacers schedule. I can pick out so many times this season where a team has openly rested players against Indiana.
Right.
So where is the line drawn in the sand? We are punishing Pascal Siakam, a man that has played 51 of 55 games this season, a guy that is, 31 years old,
Yes.
a guy that's playing the most minutes he's played in a Pacers uniform in any of his 3 seasons. And they're resting him second night of a back-to-back. It's not like they're
Yeah.
resting him in the middle of the week on a Wednesday when they've
Yeah.
had 2 days off.
Not like you said, an entire West Coast trip or
No,
something.
so this is where, and I would say that about any. Like I don't think I'm just being, prisoner of the NBA team that is in the market here. There was a thought I had yesterday before all this came out, and let's try to separate ourselves from, I guess, the news item from last night. Before that fine came out, what did you want to see from the Pacers in the final 25 games? What did you want to see them do? And let me throw out some ideas. One, they would continue to sit dudes on the second night of these back-to-backs. That's pretty much what they've done so far. That's the infractions they have committed. They've done that, I think, 3 different times
The
this
soft
season.
tank.
So they could do that. They could sit them outright.
Right.
Like start sitting dudes next Thursday when you play the Wizards because you're right next to them in the standings.
Right.
You could do what the Jazz have done. Play your guys, but then take them out of the game in the fourth quarter. Or you just straight up play them. You act like wins matter to you. You act
Right.
like there's no parameters on your draft pick. So of those 4, play them, sit them in the fourth quarter, sit them on second nights of a back-to-back, or flat out really sit them, don't play them at all, put the fine to the side, what would you hope to see them do?
The Pacers?
Correct.
I would probably roll with just sit them in the fourth.
So do what the Jazz are doing.
Yeah,
Play them.
I would say do what the Jazz are doing. Like, the fans get to see the players, Pascal Siakam, who has played pretty much in every game, and others they want to see, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. But you still understand for the bigger picture of the team, it's better if we lose.
Mark,
So-
you got a thought on that? Sit them outright, play them, sit them in the fourth quarter, or do the second night of a back-to-back, which I think they have a couple of those.
Well, I feel like now you have to consult with the league. Like,
Well,
hey,
again,
what are we supposed
don't
to do here?
Correct. Don't act
I
like
would
the
do the
fine
fourth
didn't
quarter
happen
thing.
because what James is saying is what the Jazz have done.
Yeah.
I would do the fourth quarter thing.
I think that's like the most palatable, reasonable way to do it that probably appeases all parties to a degree.
Because it checks the entertainment element of
I think
like
so.
you are
Yeah.
actually putting them in front of the fans.
Yeah, like I know Mark has been hammering this point all week, and I think it's been a great point about, hey, I bought these tickets, me and my family. I would like to see Jaren Jackson Jr. play. I would like to see Larry Marketing play. I would like to see, for the Pacers purposes, Pascal or others play, even if they don't play in the fourth quarter. Like, as a fan, I could still understand that, but at least I got some of my money's worth for trying to support my team. And then also, Kevin, I do want to clear this up with Jaren Jackson Jr. He did get ruled out for the rest of the season. He's going to have surgery for a tumor that was discovered during his physical for the Jazz. I believe he played a couple of games for the Jazz, and they had some discomfort in his knee. So people were like, well, how come they didn't discover that before? This is my best guess, is that he made it through the physical. They probably saw something, got further testing. He was able to play, and then they came back and said, hey, this is a little more serious than we thought. And so I can't necessarily sit up here and say, hey, he's the same as, the Jazz sitting players like Larry Marketing. Jaren Jackson Jr. needs surgery for a tumor. And any of us in this room, if we get told that, even if it's non-cancerous for him, which is a very good thing, but still, all of us would be like, well, get it out of me as soon as possible. So a little bit of a unique situation there.
I was listening to Zach Lowe, longtime cover of the NBA, and he's always been at the forefront of like coming up with these ideas to try and cure a topic that clearly has really taken the NBA by storm here over the last couple of weeks. A couple ideas he threw out there. He mentioned that when you get to March 1, those wins then flip. If you start winning games after March, they then count positively towards the tank standings. I thought that was an interesting thought. And then he also brought up, is there an X number of wins you must get to in order to keep your draft pick? Which is pretty juicy. Like, how many games have the Kings won this year, Mark? It's like 12, I think. I mean, it's barely any game. They are clearly the worst team in the league, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
They're 12 and 44.
So let's call it
14-game losing streak, by the way.
Let's call it 20, 25. You must get to a certain amount of wins. And maybe if you don't take their pick away, maybe you then put them at the back of the lottery. Is that something that the league could look into at all? And I know there are a ton of these, ideas. We had a listener, Scott. Maybe we'll get a chance to, hear him out early next week. I don't know if I'll have time to get to it today, but he was throwing out a lottery idea where, basically you don't reward the 4 worst teams or the 4 best teams. And you kind of go with the middle. I was hearing him out, and it kind of made sense, but I haven't heard of any idea that I'm just like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think the one that I heard, Kevin and Mark, would probably be just flatten the odds for the entire lottery, where you all get the same amount.
Do you
or same
worry
choice.
about the 7 and 8 seeds then trying to tank their way out of the playoffs?
I mean, is that better than having?
I trust me. You can poke
10
holes in
teams do
anything.
it?
I know.
I don't know. That's my best one I've heard so far.
I want to be
but-
very clear. You can poke holes in anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry that I'm the one doing it here.
Oh
but
no. I'm fine with you questioning it, and this is again why I want to hear from Adam Silver, because we're here on the radio show. Yes, we get paid to talk about these things, but we're not paid to come up with solutions. He is. So how do you fix this? Because it's a stain on your league at this point.
Did you just get rid of the lottery outright? Like,
Yeah,
worst
I've heard
record.
I mean,
that.
people have said that. People have said get rid of the draft. I'm like,
And that would never
no,
happen. The
just,
owners would never agree to that ever.
I mean,
But,
there
like-
are some, there are some wild ideas, and I try to listen with like open ears to all of them because, again, I got nothing for you in terms of a good idea. But yeah, I mean, I have heard of that, Mark. I
But
mean,
like the NFL doesn't have this issue. Like it's always just like because there's a chance you don't have to have the worst record, but you could still get the top pick. I feel like that's where this is coming from. Where you're not, if it's just the worst record, then the Kings are. I don't think you're seeing these other teams do what like the Kings are doing and everything like that. Where you're like, okay, like we're not going to get the top pick. That's okay. We'll get in there somewhere. But because there's a possibility that they could get the top pick, all of a sudden like, we kind of like
Well, I think
maneuver
with
the
the
system a little
NFL
bit. We don't have to do this. Same with MLB. MLB doesn't have this problem. Like,
well, I think the draft is more of a crapshoot in Major League Baseball. I think in the NFL, first off, yes, one player can greatly, greatly help you, but I don't think it's like the NBA. And also, the season is just shorter. I mean, how many NFL teams are eliminated from the playoffs before December? Truly eliminated. 2?
yeah, not these days. Yeah.
I mean, like with 7 playoff spots in each conference, it's really, you got to be freaking awful in the first 3 months of the year to be eliminated from the playoffs.
The Colts lost their last 7 games, and even on the 6-game losing streak, until they were eliminated that Saturday before they played the Texans in the season finale, they had a chance to get in the playoffs still.
You got them drafting a quarterback. Did I see that in your mock draft?
I listen to you every now and then, Kevin.
The quarterback that at one point was pretty high up there on some
Hey,
of those
man,
draft boards.
I got to go check the comments to see if people told me how wrong or right I am.
A quarterback that made me very happy. Not for the reasons you would think at one
There you
point
go.
here.
We'll get into it.
I pray and hope we will get to that at some point here. Greg Rakestraw, 8 on the other side. Thad Matta, 8:30. Doug Bowles at 9. Harris falling out, talking about NBA tanking. Good Friday morning to you.
Hey, it's Mark, and unless my weather app is playing a really mean prank on me, it looks like we're going to get hit with some spring weather over the next couple of weeks. Temps in the high 50s, even 60s in some cases. That means the snow is going to be gone, and it's a perfect time to take advantage of the winter warm-up to turn off that heat and do an evaluation of your HVAC system as a whole. It's gotten to work out this winter, so give the folks that love heating and air conditioning a call today. They can help you out and answer any and all of the questions you might have. Whether it's just a tune-up or light maintenance or a full-blown replacement like I had to do a few years ago, they can take care of it all. Love Heating and Air Conditioning can do that for you just like they did it for me. Don't delay. Call today, 317-353-2141, or check them out online, love-hvac.com. Talk to a customer service rep. Set up a house call. Check out all the products and services they provide. They got the Heil system installed in my house. You can check that out as well. Go over financial options and customer reviews. John and Chris Love, their 4th-generation owners. They'll make sure you're a satisfied customer like the Dagton household is. Plus, Love Heating and Air is family-owned and operated for over a century. That's how long they've been serving Indianapolis and Central Indiana. Again, 317-353-2141 or love-hvac.com.
My name is Cupid Valentino, the modern day Cupid, and I just want to say one thing. Happy Valentine's Day.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The
I
Fan.
just want to say Happy Valentine's Day.
All right, good Friday morning to you. Thad Matta, 8:30. Doug Bulls coming up at 9. Greg Rakestraw on the Payless Liquors hotline. Rake, I'm rocking a Luke Herringody jersey today. Did you ever call any of Herringody's games?
I did not. I just kind of missed him in like the Indiana All-Star window. I think literally he was in the All-Star team when I had like a brief break from calling those games.
Gosh, I love him so much. I mean, somehow it popped up on my timeline yesterday, highlights of him, and is he Odin's grade or is he Dominic James, Josh McRoberts' grade?
I think he is the 05 group, I believe, which would be the Luke Zeller group as well.
Gosh, I love him so much.
So much
Herringody,
talent in this state, boy.
Bonzie Colson, my two favorite Notre Dame basketball players of all time. Okay, Rake, before we get into other more pertinent things and not Kevin Bowen's Notre Dame basketball fandom, what do you think about the news of last night? The Pacers getting fined $100,000, all this tanking drama. I'm exhausted by it. Do you have any thoughts and opinions?
Obviously, the Jazz got dinged worse. I want to see what the fines are for other teams because I think it's hard to argue that the Pacers are taking it easy on the nights of back-to-backs, try to limit their wins, even though it didn't work against the Nets on Wednesday night. But again, they're not the only ones. I want to see if there's other fines levied other than just the Pacers and the Jazz.
Rake, do you think there is a good solution to this? I know people criticize the NBA versus the NFL. They're like, well, NFL teams don't do this. Well, there's a much shorter season. And also, there's not fully guaranteed contracts to the degree they are in the NBA. I mean, quite frankly, players in the NFL have to play. Otherwise, they'll probably get cut or something of that nature. So do you have any theories, any, sort of darts we could throw at the board here?
It happens in the NFL, too. Max Crosby didn't play the last couple of weeks of the year. I mean, believe me, it happens in the National Football League as well. The answer is I'm not sure. Now, are fans in Indianapolis complaining because their team isn't winning as much? No. And the thing is that a couple of the teams that are in this race at the bottom made significant moves to help themselves going forward.
Yes.
The Jazz made a massive trade. The Wizards have made 2 of them to at least give their fans hope for the first time in Lord knows how long. So I'm not sure there's a great answer to this. And I almost think that by the NBA talking about this, it makes it worse than it already is. I think this is one where it's, hey, you could easily pivot/sweep this under the rug and just talk about the good teams. By almost doing this, I think the NBA unintentionally makes it worse.
So now you got me going on a rabbit hole because I believe Jaren Jackson Jr. played high school basketball here in the Indianapolis area. Park Tudor, I'm trying to think. Was the school?
Correct. He played through his junior year, then spent his senior year at La Lumiere.
What do you remember about him as a high school player?
Being long, man. I mean, just being so tall. He was kind of the group that was there with Blewett, I think maybe sophomore, senior, that was the crossover. And then there the next year, so he was kind of the next wave of talent after Yogi Ferrell. Then it was Trayvon Blue, and then it was Jaren Jackson Jr. He played with about 6'8", 6'9" when he was at Park Tudor. So you could see the skills there. They were still developing because it takes all bigs a little while longer to kind of round into form, but you knew there was something there.
Trayvon Blewett, the 10th leading scorer all time in the state of Indiana. Greg Rakestraw with us here, Payless Liquors hotline. Rake, what is on your slate here coming up this weekend?
Ben Davis, Lawrence North tonight, which is kind of basically like a de facto mixed semifinal, knowing that LN and Pike play each other next Friday night, which is likely going to be for the conference championship. Avon and Carmel tomorrow night, and an Indy 11 jersey reveal tomorrow afternoon.
Ooh.
Then the girls semi-state show on Sunday afternoon, and the boys wrestling state finals show later on Sunday afternoon.
Gosh, it is that time of year, is it not? Yeah, we got girls regionals this weekend, wrestling semi-state. I know that's a big weekend for them across the entire Newcastle, Fort Wayne, Ford Center, East Chicago. Busy weekend there. I did want to hit on something I saw yesterday. You brought up Lawrence North. Monshawn Sales, the junior wideout there. I saw he cut his list down to 4 teams. I believe Bama, Miami, Indiana, I think Ohio State maybe.
Correct.
The 4th. I think Rivals has him ranked 8th overall in the entire nation for that junior class, Rake. Can you recall the last time the state of Indiana had a top 10 football recruit?
I'm trying to think of what Curry was ranked, because obviously he's one of the guys that's now going to the, draft combine, because I thought he was that level of player, and I put him in the top 3 or 4 players that I've seen in the last 20, 25 years that I have been doing this. I'm sure it's happened, but Sales is up there with any, and again, it's his combination of height at 6'4", 6'5", and his talent. I mean, he is a state track and field level final sprinter. And so the next time I'll actually see him would be at the Hoosier State Relays, the indoor meet that is opposite the boys basketball state finals on March 28th. And Sales is going to go as a wide receiver. LN actually played him both ways last year. Watching that kid play safety and his speed to break on the ball, and because of his wide receiver background, he kind of knows where the route is going. I'm still not sure that might not be his best position potentially in the National Football League, because he can break on a ball like nobody else's business. So he has been given a lot of gifts, and he can take advantage of them too.
I think we might be going back to Jalen Smith, Rake.
Yeah, would be in that group. I would think so. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
So, Rake, another thing I wanted to get into, and I actually had to go through my first mock draft for the Colts yesterday, got released this morning. When you look at team needs for this franchise with that second-round pick, where are you leaning? Is it the defensive line? Is it linebacker? Are you potentially looking at receiver if Michael Pittman Jr. isn't retained? What do you kind of consider the biggest need for this team?
This is going to sound really lame, but I'll explain why. I think you're really at best player available and more leaning towards the defense. And yes, I think Michael Pittman Jr. is let go by the team. I think Alec Pierce is kept by the team. Yes, you're probably a receiver down. But let's face it, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to be offensively with the assumption you bring back Daniel Jones and he's healthy, with the assumption you bring back Alec Pierce because of what you got in Tyler Warren, because of what you got in Jonathan Taylor, because you've got Downs that's under contract. You know who your starters going to be on the offensive line. It's oversimplifying it, but I almost think you can go, all right, you need help in all 3 areas of the defensive line. Yes, you need pass rush help. Yeah, you need depth at defensive tackle. Clearly, you need to get younger at the linebacker position. You're not exactly sure what your cornerback need is going to be, but you can kind of see we're going to have needs. And that's not even getting to Nick Cross, whether you bring him back or not, in terms of the safety position. So I would probably lean a little bit towards linebacker, maybe because the guys you've drafted haven't hit along the pass rush. I'm a little worried about drafting that first in the second round. But I really think you can go, all right, who's the best available player on the board with a defensive lean, and go that direction if you're Chris Ballard and company.
You know that voice quite well. It is Greg Rakestraw. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Last one from me. I saw Kyle Nenrip had this news yesterday of, I believe, a reformed conference. I think it's Garin and Burbuff going to the Hoosier Heritage Conference. Think of that as like, I don't know, a little bit of like East Central Indiana, the New Pals of the world, the Greenfield Centrals of the world. I think Lebanon, I guess they wouldn't fall into that boat, but they are in that conference. What did you make of that? And does that not leave that Circle City Conference with Chittard and Roncalli all but done?
Yeah, that blows that up. Chittard and Roncalli kind of go back to being independents. And because you had, that was a 4-team league this year. It was up to 6 at one point without counting football, because it's always 4 for football. Those schools are used to playing an independent schedule. And there are some, I know from Roncalli's standpoint, there are some scheduling agreements with like McCutcheon and Harrison that they seemingly play. Perhaps it steers Roncalli and Cathedral back towards each other in football because they had touched about that and then kind of started to go in opposite directions. But Cathedral is hard up for opponents now because of the standpoint of they had started playing MIC teams. Now the MIC teams are back to being an 8-team league, and so they can't play Cathedral after week number 3. And so when you see the domino effect in college, frankly, it trickles down to high school. As teams start to move, the high school programs go, hey, is it time for us to shift around to go to teams that, maybe are more like us or enrollment changes, et cetera. And so what the Hoosier Heritage Conference has kind of gone through is that the growth rate for New Pal, Mount Vernon, Greenfield Central, and Pendleton Heights was different than the other teams in the league. Yorktown has elected to stay out of the Muncie area schools, even though they're smaller, I think in large part because of how successful their volleyball program has been. And they have played up a class in volleyball basically for a decade, and they're usually one of the best teams in 4A. I think that has kept them in. And so what has happened is Newcastle, Shelbyville, and eventually Delta have all decided to leave the league and kind of play maybe smaller teams. And so that has opened the door. So Lebanon now will come across town and play with that group. And Brebeuf and Garing Catholic will do the same. Those last two will join effective next year. So that league will be a 16 league in 26-27, back to an 18 league in 27-28.
We made the trip up US 31 a few weeks back for Notre Dame, Virginia. We are vetting the trip across the pond to Notre Dame and Villanova.
We will happily buy someone a ticket if you want to come along and loan us your private jet. We can work on that.
Those are the stipulations. Some might call that harsh. Some might say that's reality.
I'll reach out to Carly or say Gordon.
NetJets, you are on line 1. Rake, have a great weekend, brother.
See you, fellas.
Greg Rakestraw right there. Payless Liquors hotline. You went edge rusher.
I did.
Right there in the middle of round 2, correct?
I did. I think edge rusher is the biggest need for this team this offseason.
I found it interesting. You went with a guy in R. Mason Thomas at Oklahoma who is a little bit more of probably production over potential.
Yes.
His height and weight, was he 6'1", like 250?
Yeah. Not the best, but...
Well, but again, I am interested to see if we see any of that difference from Ballard. I mean, he had 15 sacks over the last 2 years in the SEC. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, obviously. Yeah. But, I've said it before, and I'll say it again leading into April. I think Ballard's got to look a little bit more Curt Cignetti mantra. Production over potential.
Yeah.
I think too many times, particularly with those second-round rushers, early in his drafting tenure, he went more potential.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, we can project Ben Banogu like this. We can project Kamoko Ture like this. And it's like, well, how'd that work out? Now, I'm still a fan of swinging the bat at edge rusher. I think you have to. My dad always says to me at some point, the blind squirrel finds the nut in the forest.
Yeah.
So, do you have any of those good dad comments, Mark? Do you like that one, the blind squirrel in the nut?
That one's not bad.
Yeah.
That one's okay. I don't really have one at the ready. I feel like the guy who I hear the most dad jokes from is from Jake. The guy who doesn't have kids.
That is a Jake thing.
I know.
That is a Jake thing.
He said one Saturday night when I ran into him at the garage, and I forget what it was, and I even pointed out, I'm like, the guy who doesn't have kids has more dad jokes than I do.
I don't even think my dad really has dad jokes. He's just funny. Like, for example, this was years ago. I might have still been in high school. He got some mail, and he opens it, and it was for life insurance. And he goes, I don't like this kind of stuff where you got to die to get money. I'm like...
That's a great line.
I'm just thinking to myself, well, yeah, you make a good point, Dad, but I think you still need to get life insurance. So that's my dad in a nutshell right there. He's like serious.
Maybe
at
not
times,
the most
but he's just
unselfish thought.
Exactly.
By Jesse Boyd right there.
I'm worth more dead than alive, basically.
that's what he was telling me.
I have adopted this theory when it comes to the draft. You take a quarterback every year. I think the position means that much. I think the luck of the day 3 at that position is so hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
That you do spend a pick. And I had forgotten about this dude. I totally forgot that Drew Aller was an NFL draft prospect this year.
Yep.
And you had him in round 6 to the Colts, correct?
I did. And the reason was, one, he had a lot of potential in college. And, I mean, had he probably come out after their college football playoff run in 2024, he might have been a first-round pick, went back to school, had the poor start to the season, had the broken ankle, out for the rest of the year, and his stock really dropped. But I was thinking to myself, okay, if you're operating under the idea or the assumption that Anthony Richardson will not be on this roster next year, and you're not going to realistically spend a lot of money to go out and get a veteran on the free agent market, who else can you bring in to give yourself 3 quarterbacks on this roster, the 3 being Daniel Jones, Riley Leonard, and what I believe should be a draft pick? So I went with Aller because of the upside. He's still a pretty physical dude as far as his stature and the physical traits that give him some upside in the NFL. I think he's 6'5". I want to say about 230. Dual threat. He can run when he's healthy. And are you able to kind of work those traits into something more? And then also, it's a day 3 pick, 6th round pick in this scenario. So if you do pick a quarterback 5th or 6th round, I'm fine with that. Just because of, like you said, the importance of the position. And in Aller's case, he really was a high-level prospect at one point in his career and had a great year, I believe, in 2024 with Penn State before, obviously, the college football playoff and losing to your Fighting Irish. But, yeah, I think that I kind of explained it pretty well. I encourage you all to check out the piece after the show. But I did give it some real thought. It wasn't just for shock value.
Yeah, I'm curious with this Trinidad Chambliss news yesterday if him sounds like right now could get that 6th year and go back to Ole Miss.
When is that over, by the way? I'm so confused. I saw he got denied, and then like his appeal got denied, and then he got like an injunction.
I believe the NCAA can now appeal it again.
Okay.
Boy. I don't know much about law school, but I think at some point you probably should have someone rule that's not getting their diploma from the university where he's going to go play football.
I want to say that might have been the same thing for the Alabama player that briefly got more college eligibility, like the judge in that case.
Exactly.
Went to
I'm
Alabama.
like, what do I, it's like, whatever. Braden Smith's trying to get a 5th year, and the judge is a Tippecanoe, resident here. It's like, all right, I mean, what are we doing here with this? But I am curious what that means for the draft, because I think there's a huge drop from Fernando Mendoza to where QB number 2 lies here. Mark, you want to read off a few of these dad jokes?
Sure. Is the ones that we got in the Twitter account, Twitter sphere?
Yeah, I saw one here from Brian.
Brian says, go to bed with itchy butt. You wake up with smelly finger.
Oh, boy.
That is such a dad line.
What's blue but doesn't weigh as much? Light blue.
Oh, gosh.
I have
awful.
heard that one.
That's awful. Who was
Lord.
that? That was Matt.
That's terrible. Come on, Matt. You got to be better than that, man. You're going to get booed at drop-off line if you're dropping that. Mark, let's hit a check down. Thad Matta in 10.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
A 31-year-old who has played 51 of 55 games this season for the Pacers and has played a Pacers high in minutes in his 3 seasons with the team. The reason why he sat the second night of a back-to-back last week against the Jazz apparently is why the Pacers got fined $100,000 last night by the NBA. James Boyd, make it make sense.
Yes, so the NBA had an independent physician step in and review Pascal Siakam physically, as well as Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, who also sat out that game against the Jazz in which they lost. They determined that those players could have played, and therefore the Pacers violated the league's player participation policy, a.k.a. they were fined for tanking.
Should they just not give that independent doctor a parking pass? Really make it difficult for
I was thinking to myself,
him or her to
how
enter the building. Oh, your credential's not scanning tonight.
You guys know how Rick Carlisle here on these airwaves. I'm imagining the conversation Rick Carlisle had with that doctor, or the look he gave him. Can we get some Rick Carlisle audio there?
What a screwing that was.
There you go. Mark, you are grade A, my friend.
What did the bison say to the sun when he left the ranch?
I have no idea.
All I know is bison burgers are awesome. What?
Bison. Bye,
Oh,
son.
Lord, have mercy.
What? What?
Do you want your daughters to talk to you, man? I mean, come on.
I'll talk to you,
Unbelievable.
Mark. That would make me laugh.
Rosie, Max, Snelly, happy Valentine's Day. I love you guys very much. I promise not to go stoop to that level with the dad jokes. The Jazz, $500,000 on that fine. And James, they got fined for doing the exiting in the fourth quarter. And I believe this is now a multiple offense for them. Didn't they get fined some money last year?
Yeah, they got fined last year as well. I saw their owner on Twitter actually put out a little bit of a statement saying, well, we actually won the game against the Heat, so what are we doing here? I do think that what the NBA did to the Jazz is a little more complicated than what they did to the Pacers as far as fines go, because with the Jazz, you're determining who they should play. And that, to me, is a very slippery slope to go down, especially when, as the owner pointed out, they won at least one of those games against the Heat.
Again, I call this selective punishment. They're walking into the tailgate fields at IU before a football game, and they're picking out one person to arrest for underage drinking. It's like, come on now.
Got to meet that quota.
Explain the Wizards to me. Someone. Explain what the Wizards
The
are doing
Kings.
to me. All right, college basketball this weekend. Let's start tomorrow. It is it's Purdue at Iowa. That is 5 o'clock on Fox. That is one for Purdue, again on the road. They bumped up to the 2-seed line in Joe Lunardi's eyes for ESPN Bracketology with that win over Nebraska. And as we look ahead to next week, Michigan and Indiana, Tuesday, Friday, inside of Mackey. For the Boilermakers, speaking of Indiana, they get the Fighting James Boyds coming up 1 o'clock CBS on Sunday. And again, I think Indiana right now, the resume is good enough, certainly, to be in the dance. I think as long as they steal one more of the quad one variety, I think they will definitely be in the tournament. So is it a really Illinois team? Is that too big of a statement?
I think it's probably a little bit too big of a statement because of the way in which they lost. I want to say it might have been a couple of points the last two, but you certainly don't want to get into too big of a rut here. So we'll see if my boy Keaton Wagler has something for IU's boy, Lamar Wilkerson.
We need James to make the venture to Champaign.
Would you believe me if I told you I didn't even know this game was happening until about maybe like 2 days ago?
Yeah, your Illinois fandom is rough.
By the way, when does a joke?
I only roll with winners, so they got to win for me to cheer for them again.
All right, hell, aren't they winning this year? Dear Lord, what more do you need?
I'm saying them.
Have you seen my
They can
Notre
win
Dame
the
basketball
national
team play?
championship.
Hey, if you win the national championship, I'll take a victory lap on that.
When does a joke become a dad joke?
Oh Lord, I actually read this in the text line, and I'm going to roll my eyes again.
When
Kevin, try.
No, I'm going to be so disappointed.
You're a father.
By what? When does a dad become a dad joke?
No, when does a joke become a dad joke? When it becomes a parent. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
You want to laugh.
James Boyd's genuine laugh at that is just incredible.
I think it's because I don't have any kids, so I can laugh at this.
If that was Jeff saying that, James would be booing him.
I don't know if Jeff would have many dad jokes. I got to ask him next time he's in.
He'll be back coming up Tuesday.
Why do melons have weddings? They cantaloupe.
I think I'm laughing more at your discomfort with the joke, Kevin, than the joke itself.
Thad Matta in 5. Doug Bowles, 100
Ask
days
him if
out.
he's got any dad jokes.
From the Indianapolis Hall. I'm sure he definitely wants to share those. Butler Seton Hall Sunday at 6. We've got Doug Bowles at 9 to talk 100 days out from the running of the Indianapolis 500. It is the Fan Morning Show. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. I gotta admit, I'm laughing at some of these dad jokes that we have received here on the text line. You know what's not a joke? That would be the beautiful concrete from Galaxy Concrete Coatings, indoor and outdoor concrete. So when I say that, I mean garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Outstanding concrete. The manufacturers upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime, so you got to love that aspect to them as well. Again, it is Galaxy Concrete Coatings. On site, Tyler and Preston at our house, new sidewalk, new front porch, in and out in about 24 hours. Not too much of a hassle whatsoever. Again, galaxyconcretecoatings.com is a website. Garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Contact them today, galaxyconcretecoatings.com.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, coming up at 9 o'clock, Doug Bowles will join us 100 days out from the Indianapolis 500. He's a man that sits courtside at quite a few Butler games. Butler Seton Hall coming up Sunday evening inside of Hinkle. Butler trying to go for the season sweep there over the Pirates. Talk more about the Bulldogs. He is the head coach. He is Thad Matta, and he joins us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Coach, good morning. How we doing?
Doing all right. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Any update on Finley Bizjack? I know that didn't look great the other night, him bracing the fall with the left wrist.
Yeah, we're still waiting. There was nothing like broken, but he's in a lot of pain right now. So I would say over the next couple of days, we got to gauge, see how he is, and hope for the best.
I know the answer to this is probably no, but like I'm looking at your bench the other night, I'm like, gosh, you got more guys wearing the Project 44 shirt than you do wearing a Butler uniform. I mean, there's no way you like take what Brian Cardinal's kid's red shirt off. Is there anything you can do roster-wise this late in the season?
No, not really. We'll go with what we got, and which is 9 guys right now. And it's funny because I thought the other night against UConn, I think we used 6 different guys at the point guard position throughout the game. And so just trying to find ways to get us in our offense, and we've got to be creative throughout. Through foul trouble, and sometimes you get some disheveled lineups out there, and you got to figure it out. It's an amazing thing this year.
Coach, when you look around the locker room and you have kind of a depleted team to a degree due to injury, what are you saying to the guys who are available about the fight, the grit you need to finish the season in a manner in which you can be proud of?
Well, I think it's the old concept, man down, man up, and I thought the other night our guys competed their tails off, and we've got to guys have got to play. When you go in the game, you've got to make contributions, and it starts with just the effort and the concentration and the focus of what we're trying to do at that particular point. And like I said, I thought the guys did a pretty decent job of that. Even at the Marquette game last week, without Xavier and without Jamie Kaiser because Jamie was sick, it sort of was what it was, and trying to figure it out.
Again, Butler Seton Hall coming up on Sunday. You can hear that right here on the Fan. Pregame coverage will begin at 5:30. Coach, obviously, we saw the Dan Hurley comments, not only to you on the court postgame, but then in the press conference the other night. I guess from a resource standpoint, do you feel like you guys are at the level you want to be when you try to compare that to other teams in the Big East?
No, not yet. And but I've said this all along. I mean, Grant's doing an unbelievable job of trying to get us to where we need to be competitive. And you saw the I'm sure you guys saw the Rick Pitino comments the other day, kind of saying the same thing. Like, hey, the Big East has got to get back, and resource wise, we got to do that. But I got great confidence in Butler and Grant of getting us where we need to be.
When you I guess when you say the word resource, is it simply just saying we need more money? Is that it? I mean, just like strictly NIL? I mean, Dan threw out the number of whatever, 8-9 million. Is that strictly what you mean when you say resource-wise?
Yeah, because it's become such and it's so hard for people to understand this, and unless you're living it every day, it's just such a different game now. It's I don't want to say it's professional sports, but it's pretty doggone close to it, just go down the top 10 teams in the country right now and say, well, I wonder what they've got. And I think you'd be shocked.
Thad, you're a part of sort of that older guard where, again, when you started coaching, it was so different. So I believe I might have asked you this question before, but as you get further and further into this new era of college basketball, how have you personally perhaps had to adapt how you approach, whether it's roster construction, how you talk to recruits, the possibility of a recruit leaving for what they believe is a better program or a bigger check. I mean, how do you square all of that away with coaching the game that you love, knowing that it probably wasn't what you expected when you got into it?
That's for sure. What we have to do is number one, and I know we talked about this earlier in the year, but like, hey, we got to get a certain type of kid here, and I love the uniqueness of Butler University and what it stands for. But you got to get players as well, and we've got to develop our guys. And in a year like this year, you probably need some luck too, and just in terms of not having injuries and. I went into the season with some very, very high hopes with what we started with. And, even if Fosa was out for 5 or 6 weeks at the beginning of the season this year, which kind of set him back, because now he's starting for us. And, but he was kind of robbed those development games, if you will, in November and in early December. But no, we got to keep going and grinding and finding the guys that we need here, that want to be here, and that we can develop.
Again, Thad Matta with us here. It's Butler Seton Hall coming up Sunday at 6 o'clock. Coach, the other night, you get to 7-8 minutes left in the game. Finley Bizjack, Michael Ajayi hadn't really been your typical scores. I thought your bigs really played well the other night, maybe the best I've seen them play in quite some time. What did you think of Drayton Jones and Johan Traore the other night?
I thought they were really good, and we challenged them going into the game we knew we needed that position, and obviously they locked down on Finn and Michael, and those guys combined for 11 assists. I thought offensively in that game, I think we had 25 field goals, 21 of them were assisted, and that's kind of like a coach's dream, if you will, and those guys were a big key to it because they were not letting them get shots off. So, but Michael Drayton and Yo were as solid as they were, and that's the type of performance we need there.
Again, Butler beat Seton Hall on the road earlier this year. They'll try to get the sweep over the Pirates coming up. Reminder, Sunday, 6 o'clock, our coverage right here on The Fan at 5:30. Coach, as always, thank you, sir.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a great weekend.
Thad Matta, that is always brought to you by Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus, in business since the year before Hinkle Fieldhouse opened up, 1927. Lazy Boy, Indiana-made Smith Brothers Furniture, Stearns & Foster Tempur-Pedic Mattresses. Free delivery to the entire Indianapolis metro area. Worth the drive to Columbus. That's thompsonfurniture.net. So reminder, we will carry that right here on The Fan coming up here on Sunday evening. That is Butler and Seton Hall at 6. Doug Bowles in 20 on the other side. Is the next punishment taking away ping pong balls? We'll talk about the news of the night and the Pacers being fined $100,000 by the NBA next.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Doug Bowles coming up in 15 as we're 100 days out from the Indianapolis 500. We're just 2 weeks out from the IndyCar season getting underway. I don't know if I've ever seen so much schoolgirl laughter from behind the glass like Mark Dighton has had in the last 15 to 20 minutes.
The listeners are bringing the dad jokes, and I am all here for all of them.
The smirk would light up, I don't know, Antarctica right now. Although Antarctica might be light. I don't know if that was the proper analogy.
Light up
or
Cambridge
not.
Fieldhouse.
Sure, thank you.
After the fine.
Thank you for saving me on the, yeah, definitely after the fine there. Mark, your favorite dad joke?
Oh boy, there's a couple in here that are making me giggle. What kind of pants do ghost hunters wear? Just a pair of normal ones.
That's actually pretty savvy right there.
Why can't Jesus work ice cream parlors? He can't do Sundays. That one might be my favorite.
That's really good. Can we get somebody inside of a church to drop that in front of a mic this weekend? Come on now.
Is that blasphemous?
Well, we can all chuckle a little.
What did Peyton Manning say when asked as a youth if he wanted to play defensive line? No thanks. I'll pass.
Ha ha ha.
Did you hear about the controversy at the Yardstick factory? Apparently they aren't making them any longer.
That's actually pretty good.
I mean, literally,
I got to give some respect to that.
Every other minute I've looked up at Mark, and Mark's like in my vision, and I mean, he's smirking. He's just laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in there.
Usually when he's doing that, it's because he's cutting audio to use against us.
I know. And now we got dad jokes. We'll continue to provide a few more of them. All right.
So, here's one more. Forgive me if I missed the joke. Sorry, I keep all my jokes in my database.
All right, I might have to boo that one. I might have to boo tomato.
I can hear Rosie Bowen telling me to stop talking. I can hear her when I say that out loud. We saw the news last night. The NBA, I call it selective punishment. $500,000 fine for the Jazz, $100,000 for the Pacers. Just to remind everybody, this is in reference to last Tuesday's game with the Jazz, in which Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith all sat. I'm a little confused why a player in Siakam's case, who was referenced specifically by the NBA in their punishment statement, has played 51 of 55 games. He's played some of the most minutes of anybody in the NBA this season, the most minutes he's played in a Pacers uniform in his 3 seasons here. He's resting on second nights of a back-to-back. It's not like he's resting the middle of a week, why this is deemed worthy of a punishment. But, James, I am curious this. We're seeing fines. The Jazz, an increase in their fine, $500,000. Do you think there's any chance they start taking away ping pong balls?
I do think that is a question that has to be thrown at Adam Silver this upcoming weekend during All-Star Weekend in LA. And Kevin, honestly, if you want to prevent tanking, that is probably the most efficient and severe way you can do it. Because people will be terrified to lose their pick over resting players. Because right now, if you think about the money and the fines, if you're telling me, okay, the Pacers, you got to fork over $100,000, and let's say they were to get fined, I don't know, 2 more times the rest of the season. So $100,000 this time, $500,000 the next time, hell, even $1 million the third time. But you land the number 1 pick and you get Darren Peterson or AJ DeBanza.
It's worth it.
That's what I'm saying. So
it's so worth it.
I mean, yeah, I feel like
that's where the punishment, I think, if you start to say, hey, you have whatever, 10% of the ping pong balls. Now you've got 2%. And again, I'm just throwing numbers out there. That's a different punishment.
Right. I think
I mean, money to billionaires, I mean, sure, it's money. Like, I mean, I'm not going to act like it's nothing, but it can be swept under the rug a lot more than impacting the chances of your franchise winning a championship. Right? Yeah, I saw someone mention it's like the luxury tax.
Yeah, pretty much.
You could look at it in that light there. This was from Scott. We got this a little bit. He actually sent this to me yesterday, now that I think about it. This was a lottery idea. Follow me here because it's a tad confusing, but I do think all of the ideas, frankly, have a bit of confusion in it. He would say that the top 4 picks, they go to teams 4 through 26 on a random lottery. So basically, You're not going to reward the 4 worst teams, and you're not going to reward the 4 best teams. Random lottery, 4 through 26. Then picks 5 through 8, the 4 worst records, they then get those picks. So you still have some sort of parity for the losers, but you don't allow them to reap the top of the mountain benefits. Then he transitions to picks 9 through 26. He then empties out the rest of the teams that finished in the quote-unquote middle, and then the last 4 picks in round 1 go to the 4 conference finalists. I hope I dumbed that down enough, but it was still relatively easy to explain. Your thoughts on that? You don't allow the top 4 teams to benefit 1, 2, 3, 4. They are then there at 5, 6, 7, 8, but you don't allow them the top 4. And it's all random once you're grouped into those groupings.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if a team wins a series in the playoffs, James, they could still get the number 1 pick.
I like the idea to an extent, but boy, I'm just thinking of like, what if you truly have horrible injury luck and the product you put out there, you just cannot win with? I mean, realistically, the Pacers are almost there, or were almost there. Like, the only player they've had healthy that is a regular rotation player is Pascal all year. Well, regular starter, I should say. So who's to say if he didn't go down with a significant injury that you're punishing the Pacers in this hypothetical that I'm throwing out here, that they're getting screwed over because they're legitimately hurt. And let's not forget that the Pacers really are in this position because they don't have their best player due to an Achilles. And then they lost Obi Toppin. And then they had Andrew Nembhard out. And then they had, so like, I don't know. I do think it's a better theory than perhaps what I've offered. And it's interesting. And maybe, again, if we can get some people on, the West Coast to tune in, they can start asking these questions to Adam Silver. I think that is a reasonable theory.
Yeah, again, State of the Union for Silver coming up, All-Star Weekend here this weekend. There is an element where I am torn on the whole resting, tanking debate to a degree. Obviously, I don't love it, but, a couple of years ago, we dealt with Tyrese Halliburton's hamstring injury, and it was very awkward. It was a big part of the season. And at times, people clamored for him to sit and to rest. So again, how are you defining the severity of that injury versus the ability to fight through it? And there's so much gray area in that. And then, for Halliburton, and he's admitted this, the 65-game part of needing to play that many games to achieve All-NBA status was a factor in him pushing through this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're talking about, I believe at the time, $40, $50 million.
So, let's just play this out. If Halliburton has, whatever, an injury that he could play through,
right?
But also the team medical staff says, you know what? If you sit this homestand, this 5-game homestand, we feel like you at 85% could turn into 100% come playoff time. Sorry to the people that have home tickets to those 5 games, but at the end of the day, are you trying to win a championship? Or are you trying to, make the kids smile in Section 206?
Well, KB, that goes back to the rule I read you where they have kind of that stipulation or that exception to the load management, the resting, where it says, well, there's your end of season flexibility.
But again, the end of the season thing, I think, is gray area. When does that go into place? At what point into the season? March?
That's
April?
actually very good. I'm reading it now. There is not a definitive date.
Because if you
or a mark of as far as how many games you played.
If you're doing the resting on January 10th, that's not the end of the season at all. But again, does that save the player late into the year? And then you get into the whole independent doctor. Again, I'm not going to wear the medical hat on a very educated level by any means, but you are throwing in a third-party doctor to walk into a team building when he hasn't assessed this player all year long. Has no idea what the medical history is with said player. And so now all of a sudden, they walk in there and they're the official ruling.
Yeah, they poke and prod you a little bit.
It sounds like this is what happened with Siakam.
Yes.
For example. So that's where I struggle with it. It's wait a minute. And again, the team doctor is obviously going to be biased towards the team.
Yeah.
So there's no easy black and white to any of this, but gosh, I hate talking about it.
and we kind of have to, especially after last night, because of the fine and what it means moving forward. And by what it means, I'm saying, okay, you told us, Rick Carlisle, that Ivica Zubac is still dealing with an ankle injury that he initially suffered with the Clippers, missed 5 straight games at the end of December and into early January, and then played through it for quite some time. And then he gets here, and you all are saying, well, he's still living with some discomfort. He won't be playing until he's 100%. Now the NBA is saying, well, he doesn't have to be 100%. And so I'm very curious to see if he'll be available after the All-Star break. And now that the Pacers are under this microscope, how much further or how much bigger will that spotlight get because of you already kind of towing the line a little bit?
The biggest laugh I've seen so far from Mark Dykton occurred about 3 minutes ago. The biggest one.
Oh, I have to find where it went. It was it made me laugh. There's one.
I thought he was pounding the table in there, like he did one of those, like slapping his leg.
There was one I definitely cannot read on air.
Can you elementary it up for us here?
I don't know if I can.
By now,
the punchline. I would have to. You have to give me the break to figure that out. Let me see where it went.
All right, Doug Bull's in 5. We'll see if Mark can clean this up. 9 o'clock hour coming up. Fan Morning Show.
The Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Was that James Boyd chiming in?
This is like cookout music right here,
Man.
Mark.
Get you in the mood for Valentine's Day, some Al Green.
9 o'clock hour.
So brand new.
Closing out the week. This might be Doug Bowles on the final Sunday in May, right? Waking up. Well, I say waking up. The man doesn't even go to sleep the Saturday night before the running of
He was raving with JMV.
Yes, he is a Raven with JMV. The Indianapolis 500, 100 days away. To talk more about it, he is the one, the only Doug Bowles. Good morning, Doug. How we doing?
Good morning. You know what? I could just sit here and just listen to the tunes all day long. Let's keep them going. That's a great way to just kind of get in the mood for 100 days. And, yeah, it's kind of just exactly where we all are. Is Valentine's Day coming up? I didn't know that. I'm focused on May 24th.
Well, that is the day of love in the Bowles household. I actually think probably the missus would agree with you on that end as we are 100 days out. Doug, where should we start? Is it the ticket numbers continue to be that arrow pointing up? I think I saw 10% ahead of where you guys were at this point last year.
Yeah, we're significantly up, which is great, which I think means, last year we actually were able to sell the grandstands out the week of the Indy 500. So hopefully if things continue on the trend they're going, we'll be able to make that announcement significantly earlier this year, which then puts into question the question we always get. If you sell out the grandstands, what are you going to do with the delay in the market? And we'll, obviously you saw what we did last year. I can't imagine we do anything differently. So pretty excited about the ticket sales.
Doug, can you tell us a little bit more about the 100 Days Out fan party? Sounds exciting.
Yeah, no, we started this in 2016. I'm a big college basketball fan, and back in the day when, college hoops, when the teams could start practicing, you had all these universities that would have these midnight basketball practices, right, to celebrate the basketball season being around.
Yeah.
We said, let's do that at midnight on 100 Days Out, leading to the 100th running of the Indy 500, and we did it at midnight. Everybody went out in the Yard of Bricks, and we did a countdown on the pylon, and then we just kind of kept it going. We're a little more reasonable now. We actually do it in the evening and just sort of enjoy it. We'll have about 2,000 people come tonight. Little sold out event that we do for our fans. It's amazing how quickly when we put those tickets out, they're free, but when we put them out, how quickly our fans take us up on that. So we'll do that tonight. But today, just wandering around town, getting some bottles of milk to some people, letting them know thanks for being civic leaders. We're going to go to Riley Children's Hospital here at lunchtime and just give a little bit of love to those kids that are in Riley Hospital, and then and have a little bit of a party tonight, and then we'll be in the 99 days tomorrow. It's going to go quick.
That is the great Doug Bowles. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline, as he said, 100 days out from the Indianapolis 500. I think to maybe the average, Indy 500 fan, Doug, they see yesterday's headlines with Honda and Chevy, and I don't know if they know the full ramifications of what that means. Could you kind of share a little bit more on the significance of yesterday's announcement?
Yeah, so, a year and 2 days ago, I got added the job of IndyCar president as well as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And one of my first tasks, or one of the most important things for me to get my hands and head around, was where were we with our long-term relationship with both Honda and Chevrolet. Our current contracts with them were to expire at the end of this year. And everyone knows having those engine manufacturers as part of your series is really important. And we've gone through some difficult times really beginning in the fall of 2023 and 2024, especially with Honda. So I've spent the last year, and the team has spent the last year just working with Honda and with Chevrolet. And so for us to get to a point yesterday where we were able to announce that in 27 and beyond, we have a multi-year agreement with both Chevy and Honda to stay involved in the series. So excited about it. It is really, really big for our series, really, really big for our team, for our teams. So really, really just pleased to have that finished. It was literally a year ago today that I flew to Sebring, Florida for the IndyCar test that was going on down there. And first started having conversations with Honda and Chevy about, okay, how do we put something together that makes sense for everybody to go forward? So yesterday was a big deal for all of us.
One thing noting this year, obviously 250th anniversary of America, and certainly when you look at the Indianapolis 500, the patriotic nature to it speaks for itself. Anything, I guess it'd just be kind of whatever, the cherry on top. Anything you will add to that, to the specific celebration this year? Anything different, I guess, Indy 500 pre-race related?
Well, I think, first of all, our logo for this year for the Indy 500 and really our theme throughout our events this year is sort of that red, white, and blue. Let's celebrate the 250th anniversary side of things. So it's on a foundation of that, the red, white, and blue. So we're excited about that. You're right. Memorial Day weekend for us when we're racing, it's about the race, but it's really built on the foundation of the men and women who serve our country and those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So a lot of our pre-race this year will be focused on that piece of it. We just had a really great run through about a week ago on some of the things that'll be part of pre-race. So excited about that. The question I get more than any is, what do you do the rest of the year, right? Because people don't think we do anything else. And then the next question this year at least has been, are the helicopters coming back? So we had those helicopters at the start of the race, and we're going to do everything we can to bring those back again and just make it that military celebration that that we all expect when you go to an Indy 500. Carb Day announcement coming up soon for talent there. We hope to get our snake pit announcement out, and then all the fun celebrity pieces, and we're going to figure out a way to celebrate our friends down in Bloomington and the accomplishment they had. And I'm actually hoping that maybe we're going to end up having an opportunity to celebrate our friends up in West Lafayette if they can pick one up in a basketball championship this year. So Indiana sports obviously important to celebrate as well.
The helicopters, Doug, I'm not sure if the hair on the back of my neck has ever stood up taller in my life. I don't know if it was just the surprise nature, how low they were. Boy, as soon as you said that, it's got me wanting to head to YouTube again to watch that.
It was really fun. I think a lot of it for fans, it was the surprise nature of it, right? Because it was something new, and the fact that they flew so low. If you were halfway up in a grandstand, you were looking into the cockpit of those helicopters. They were that low, and to hear the drivers on their radios and the pre-race talk about, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. I can feel them, I can hear them. Even our drivers were pumped up about it. So Eric Shanks at Fox was really helpful in getting that secured for us. And one of the first calls that I made after the 500 this year, when I was thanking our Fox friends for what they put together, I said, hey, Eric, we got to make sure that comes back. So let's do everything we can to make that part of the race next year or this year.
Doug, as someone who went to the Indy 500 for the first time last year, I had a great time. The flyover was amazing. I made sure I was out on the deck for that. But throughout the years with this type of event, how have you all maybe challenge yourselves to keep the tradition of why people love the event so much and fell in love with it, and it's become so iconic as well, to keep maybe or gain some of those newer fans, although some of that might be built in with tradition as well?
It's you touch on a really important part of what we do. It's a little bit of a balancing act, and really it starts with what's so important to the DNA of the Indianapolis 500 that you can't change it? It's 500 miles, it's 33 cars, it's a yard of bricks, it's a bottle of milk. Those are the things in the foundation that are so central to our DNA that if you were to walk away from them, you'd essentially be going from classic Coke to new Coke, and we all know how that works. So we got to be careful there. But you're right. If we embrace too much of and don't change anything, we will not gain new fans. So it's really important that you start to balance. The other thing that we've done over the last several years that I think is really important is we have to go out and solicit new fans. We have to go out and say, hey, neighbors. We've got neighbors that live close to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that have never come, partially because they've never felt like they've been welcome. And for a long period of time, I think the organization leadership said, oh, look, anybody can come. But the place is intimidating, especially race day when you have 350,000 people there. So one of the big efforts we take is we try every year to bring 10,000 new people to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that might not necessarily fit in what you would think of as an IndyCar demographic. And that's one of the things I've been most excited about. When you start to see our fan base begin to look like our community, that's when you're making a difference. And so that's a huge focus for us. So we have to change. We have to reach out. We have to bring people in and walk alongside them. And that's really a big focus of what we're trying to do to grow the sport and grow the Speedway.
Doug, was that a hint at a Kurt Signetti green flag that you dropped a few minutes ago?
No, it was a hint at we can't have an Indianapolis 500 without somehow celebrating the unbelievable accomplishment. 50 years after the last unbelievable Indiana accomplishment, that undefeated 1976 basketball team. So we will do something to celebrate the Hoosiers. If we could get Coach to show up, that would be pretty incredible. But right now, we're really just focused on how do we celebrate what made everybody in the state of Indiana and those 800,000 plus folks who graduated from Indiana all over the world proud as well. So we're definitely going to take a moment to tip our hat to them.
Again, a few minutes left here with Doug Bowles, course president Speedway, and as he said, he took on that IndyCar title here just over a year ago, 2 weeks away from St. Pete. It is a busy month of March. We haven't said that in a while with IndyCar. Super busy here right out of the gate. Looking forward to that. Doug, obviously the news item a couple weeks ago with you guys racing in D.C., the executive order signed by President Trump. I can imagine the feedback on that has been robust. How would you assess what that feedback has been like?
Robust is a nice way of putting it. Look, it's for us at the IndyCar Series, the opportunity to, in the 250th anniversary of our country, to put the greatest race cars on the face of the earth in our nation's capital, in the shadow of the Capitol itself, and of the Washington Monument, which is made with an awful lot of Indiana limestone, is an opportunity that I don't think we can pass up. It's going to put a lot of eyeballs on our cars, a lot of eyeballs on the drivers, and it's a great way to celebrate our country. So we're excited about it for that reason. And I'm going to stay focused on our country and celebrating our 250th anniversary and really putting on a great show. Hopefully in the next 3 weeks or so, we'll be able to 3 or 4 weeks or so, we're going to be able to announce more details about it, where the layout's going to be, how it's going to work. I think a lot of people thought when that announcement came that, oh my gosh, how are they going to get this done in what's basically 190 days from today? We've been working on this really for 6 months, trying to get it done. So a lot of the legwork has been done. We've announced over the last week or so that Monumental Sports is going to help us on the commercial side of things in the DC area. Harbinger, which is a big DC company that puts on big events in DC, is going to help us with that. It's for as much as our world wants to get polarized in terms of politics, the beauty of this one is we've got a lot of support on Capitol Hill. The DC mayor is really excited about it, really supportive, excited that we're going to bring an economic impact event to the, obviously to Washington, D.C. So we're just focused on delivering a great event and celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country.
I think the Fox infusion has been well served, and I think this is another indicator of that. Again, 100 days out from the 500. Some call the day of love tomorrow for Doug Bowles, and for many, frankly, it's the last Sunday in May. Doug, always enjoy our combos. Enjoy the media rounds today, and we look forward to more chats here coming up.
All right, thanks. Good to catch up with you guys. We'll look forward to seeing you here quite a bit over the next 100 days.
That is the great Doug Bowles right there. Payless Liquors hotline. Let's play this out, James Boyd. Let's say the Purdue Boilermakers get on a run.
Okay.
Let's say they're playing the first Monday in April inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Let's say they get handed the scissors at the end of the game to go clip those nets. Are we going Kurt Signetti gets the green flag for the first 2 turns, and then Matt Painter gets it for the last 2 turns? I mean, I guess really it's the only thing that matters is who waves it coming down the front stretch there, but how are we handling that? Somebody's in the pace car, somebody's waving the green flag?
Yeah, and I think I'm putting probably Sig in the pace car. What's the bigger honor? I'm kind of a novice still.
See, I think it's waving the flag because
whatever the bigger honor is, you give that to Kurt Signetti.
Oh boy, you just alienated all Purdue Nation.
Well, look, I love the Boilermakers, but that is the greatest sports turnaround we've ever seen.
Can you do double green flag? They both get one.
Have you seen that perch up there? I feel like if you put
it's going to be tight quarters.
You put 2 people up there. I'm nervous. Signetti might get the elbow out a little wide.
Oh boy, we need him to stay alive.
And Matt Painter might say, "Wait, did you say Purdue sucks?" I
say we put the green flag out on the bricks and they have to race to it. Kind of like a Ricky Bobby situation.
Like an XFL coin toss like they used to have.
Put them in the Wienermobiles and have them race around the track that way?
Purdue fans are like, dude, just shut up. We're just hoping to try to get on a run at this point here. Don't be jinxing anything. But it does sound like there'll be some Indiana involvement. It is funny. Signetti is super anti any sort of public events when it comes to this nature. I mean, Mark, you know it. Try to book him. I mean, we haven't had. Cignetti told us no a million times and try to come on our radio show, and we're partners with him. Like and he's very. I'm here to coach a football team.
Yeah.
So I am curious, will we see him in a public light at all around the state? Like,
I don't know. I think the 500 might have a little more clout than us.
Yes, I 100% get that. But again, there are other events. Like I know full well there are other events here locally for charity that have tried to get him.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how he's wired.
Yeah, and nothing's wrong with that. And I guess the results speak for themselves, right? When you go undefeated, you get to decide kind of the terms of what you want to do.
Amen to that. You can be in hibernation if you're going to go win football games on
there you go.
Daily basis. All right, Mark Dykton, you continue to giggle over there. It's unbelievable. You sound like my kid saying the word poop with how much you've smiled over the last hour.
That's funny, too. I would laugh at that as well, actually.
Dad jokes. I don't even know how this started. An hour ago, somehow you asked for dad jokes.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a day of love, and we got the dad jokes
I don't remember
going.
either.
So we're loving and laughing over here.
All right, how many sodas do birds like to drink?
Indulge me.
2 cans.
I actually like that one.
Oh, jeez. How about, can you read the Minnie and Goofy one? Or
that's the one I had to clean up.
Is that safe for work?
I will clean up. Why did the kids should be in school now? So this one's okay.
Should we wait till 9:55?
Why did Mickey break up with Minnie? She was blanking Goofy.
Oh boy. That's wild. That's probably the best one.
That's pretty good.
What did the fish say when he hit the wall? Damn.
I shouldn't laugh at that. That's pretty bad.
No, that's
our fishing dams. Oh my god, is that a real thing?
I told my wife she needs to embrace her mistakes in life. She came over and hugged me.
I like that one. I thought that was pretty good.
I have a joke about procrastination. I'll tell you later.
I've heard that one many times.
That's peak dad. Right there is peak dad. That's like Thanksgiving meal. Yeah. That is just so peak.
That's great.
There you go.
Mark, great work assembling those.
Well, that's the listeners. Shout out to them.
Most importantly, thank you to the listeners.
They answered the call this morning.
You have made Mark Dykton laugh so hard on this Friday morning. All right, let's check it out.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Boy, talk about refreshing being able to talk about the Indianapolis 500 and 100 days out, and we could finally put last night's topic to the back burner. But James Boyd, we have to bring it back to the front burner here on this morning. Check down as best you can. Explain why the NBA thought they deserved, I guess, to fine the Jazz $500,000 and fine the Pacers $100,000.
Yeah, so the Jazz got the heftier fine for playing their starters and stars and then pulling them out ahead of the fourth quarter in a couple of games recently. So the league felt like they were kind of manipulating the game. And so that was quoted as conduct detrimental to the NBA. And then for the Pacers, they were fined because they were violating the player participation policy by resting Pascal Siakam against the Jazz on February 3rd, which was, I think, last Tuesday, Kevin. And then as far as the other two starters, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, they had other injuries that were listed as real injuries, but the NBA determined through an independent physician that all three players could have and therefore should have played in that game. The weird part, though, Kevin, as I keep reading the NBA statement, is that they said, well, they could have held them out of other games to comply with the policy.
I know. I was confused
again,
by
what does that
part.
mean?
Because, again, they sat him on second nights of a back-to-back.
Like, that seems like the most reasonable time to do it.
The one pushback I would have is the opponent. They did sit them against the Jazz.
Yeah, fair.
Which, again, these are separate fines I want to make that clear, but the Jazz are near them in the tank standings. You know, could you have done the vice versa, I guess? Could you have sat them against the Rockets where the game doesn't matter as much? I know we're getting into technicalities, but there's just so much damn gray area. It seems like very selective punishment, frankly.
Do they have to call the league office? Like, is it okay if we rest guys? Are you guys going to hit us with a fine if we do
I think you literally have to do that, Mark. I'm not joking.
Does every team just have one of these independent doctors waiting for them on day of game? And then all of a sudden, they walk into the locker room and get to examine these players.
I'm reading it right now. I guess they have to review medical information, so they're, I guess, working somewhat in conjunction with the initial team doctor to, review imaging and things of that nature here in the policy. But boy, again, a lot of this, every time I read more and then I factor in the statement from the NBA yesterday, Adam Silver basically was saying overt tanking like this will not be allowed. I get further and further confused as to what is the middle ground, what is black and white, because there's a whole lot of gray here.
It's like when the principal walked into your classroom, like, oh, stand up straight, something happened.
Exactly.
Here. Oh, God, here comes Roy again. Everybody in practice, play your hardest.
Literally. I mean, he's got to be the most hated man inside of an NBA locker room, or I should say woman as well. All right, shifting gears here again, All-Star Weekend. You'll get Rising Stars. You'll get the dunk contest. You'll get the three-point contest, which is actually has a pretty star-studded group. Pascal Siakam in the game. Again, they're doing the NBA World format, not holding my breath. That's going to lead to anything on that front. I believe Ethan Thompson in the Rising Stars game, G Leaguer for the Pacers. I guess he's been on. He's obviously played with the big league squad as well. That is out in Los Angeles. College basketball lineup for this weekend. We mentioned the Boilermakers off to Iowa. Iowa had won 7 in a row. Then they lost to Maryland this past week.
Put some respect on the Terps.
The Terps are awful this season. So
not against Iowa.
Bennett Sturts and I guess who else for Iowa there. That was a pretty entertaining game up in Mackey earlier this season. Purdue was able to pull away late.
Yeah, Sturts can play.
In that game, yeah, he can really play. So that will be 5 o'clock on Big Fox there for Purdue and Iowa. 1 o'clock Sunday, James Boyd's squad, the Illini. Admittedly, he had no idea this game was even happening. They've got Indiana. That's big CBS. Again, with Indiana, I think right now you look at bracketologies, 9 seed, 10 seed, right around there. If they get one more of these, they are in. I feel comfortable saying that even a month ahead of the selection show, but they get a couple of these at Illinois Sunday, at Purdue next week. I think they've got Michigan State left. You get one more, I think, of that variety. I think that should be enough.
Just don't do it Sunday. We got to start guarding Lamar Wilkerson now. Need a tracker. Put one of those air tags on him.
Lamar Wilkerson, Keaton Wagler. You want to talk about a couple flamethrowers in this matchup here. Looking forward to that.
Both scored 40 this year in Big Ten games.
Butler, Seton Hall. That is Sunday at 6. You can hear that right here on The Fan. Other college basketball news. Miami of Ohio, the undefeated team. We had Travis Steele on earlier this week. Their head coach, Rakestraw, had Pete Suter on, the Carmel product, who's been great for them this season. They will play tonight at 9 o'clock on ESPN. So if you haven't seen the Red Hawks this year, should be an awesome atmosphere over in Oxford as they take on Ohio. And Caleb Wilson, potential top 4 pick in the NBA draft. He is out with a broken left hand. No timetable on that end. I've really enjoyed watching him play. I think he is super skilled. So we'll await if he can return at all coming up this season.
He's one of those core 4 the Pacers are looking at saying, hey, we want you if you're in that top 4 pick.
Yeah, maybe Darren Peterson needs to follow suit on the old broken hand to try and alleviate some of the stress there.
I don't know. Might get fined for tanking.
USA Hockey 5-1 over Latvia yesterday. U.S. women hockey, they've got a quarterfinal game coming up against Italy. Did you guys see the 54-year-old dude who subbed in on the curling team?
I did not see that, but explain, please.
I believe the oldest Olympian in an individual sport, which I'm kind of like, isn't there a curling team here? But yeah, I think we were getting work, to be honest with you. And they subbed him in so he could have his moment. Now, would this be like Team USA putting James Johnson on and letting him play a minute?
Probably.
Or
that's
like
Daryl Armstrong.
Like the end of the Colts season, you let Phillip Rivers get that one snap to keep his streak going.
Let Joey Votto have one more at bat.
There you go. We'll see if we see any of that.
I respect it, though. The Olympics are a little bit different, too, just because you spend your whole life trying to get there every 4 years. Let the man have his moment.
And the other item here locally, a lot of wrestling going on this weekend here. Semi-state, IHSAA, always in some big old venues. Allen Memorial, Ford Center, Newcastle. I think East Chicago.
I'm looking forward to the tables, ladders, and chairs at Newcastle.
Oh, man.
There you go.
Hell in a cell.
Marcus Freeman, good luck.
30-man over the top battle royal.
This weekend, right?
That was good, KB.
And girls regionals, different sites here around the state.
Oh, catch your boy at Greenfield Central tomorrow.
Is that Roncalli and Cathedral, I believe, one of the games out there? I want to say that's maybe 4A, and I think is it LC Pike?
Yes, I believe that is another big one. I know Center Grove has a big one. They're undefeated. I want to get a look at them to see if they can keep the streak going.
All right, last 2 dad jokes, and then we can put this to rest. Why was Tigger's head in the toilet? He was looking for poo. And then the last one.
That one's pretty good. Now that you say it out
All
loud.
right, now I can laugh.
It's so pathetic. Maddie laughs at every poop joke that the kids say.
The same here.
Every one.
Hey, she has a great sense of humor.
What do you get when you cross an elephant with a rhino? Elephino.
All right, I might be throwing a tomato on that one.
I like that one.
That might be the
I might
drunk
be
uncles
throwing a
had a few too
tomato.
many
Oh,
at
like,
Thanksgiving.
boo.
Shout out to Scott. That
Now,
was a good one.
Mark, are you we have established like Max Bowen's allowed to say booty?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were trying to, whatever. I mean, you got to draw the line somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Like, there are
Yeah,
some
I
words.
don't know.
that
What, you potty training? Do you say booty when you're potty training?
but now he's saying booty everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere.
Like David Banner or something?
Booty,
Yeah.
rocking everywhere.
Seriously. I mean, he's saying it everywhere. It's the most popular word he says.
Yeah. I mean, I've had my daughter. Can we say suck or stinks or shut
because
up?
you got to
Like,
respect their teachers. Like,
Yeah.
there's an element of like, all right, yeah, I don't care if they say crap and suck at some point in their life, but like, Miss O'Brien and Miss Hernandez, I mean, you got to have some respect
Right,
for
have
them
some
as
decorum here.
the son of 2 teachers here. So,
Man, I feel like I could probably say a curse word and get away with it easier than the word suck in my household. My mom hates that word to this day. Yes. I'm 30, and she still, if I go home and say that, she gets a little, hey, watch your mouth.
Gosh, now you got David Banner stuck in my head.
Don't play that in front of Max.
Kevin Bowe and James Boyd, Mark Titan. Boy, that'll be his new anthem. Say goodbye to K-pop Demon Hunters. We got David Banner. We'll do it a couple more times here. A Fan Boarded Show, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Darling, I will be loving you till we're 70.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
23. And I'm thinking about how
David Banner, Ed Sheeran, we got it all here on this Valentine's.
I felt like Mark kind of dropped the ball there.
Day
Really expected some
Eve.
David Banner there.
Someone was saying Bubba Sparks.
Yeah, Bubba Sparks has missed new booty. So if you really want to get Max going.
Got it. We got to get our booties lined up here.
That'll never come back to you.
Well, better than what Jeff was saying the other day about.
Yeah,
what
I
was he saying
think
there?
that might be the
Daddy.
most egregious
Man.
thing said on these airwaves.
Thank you to Doug Bowles for joining us 100 days out from the 500. Thad Matta a little bit earlier. We've talked so much about this Pacers tanking thing and fined and the selective punishment here from the NBA, and I'm a little exhausted by it. You said you got people upset that you drafted an edge rusher for the Colts in round 2?
No, Daddy.
Yes.
No, Daddy.
Oh, Lord.
That's what people thought when they saw the edge rusher.
I hope the FCC finds us for you playing that.
Oh, boy. That was rough. But, yes, so I went with
That makes me uncomfortable.
an edge rusher with the first pick in my mock draft in the second round, Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. I actually want to talk to him at the combine just to ask him what is the R for in his name, because his name is R space Mason Thomas. So anyway, I do think whoever you draft, you probably need to draft a defensive end on day 2 of the draft, meaning the second or third round. I don't see how you can try to build a younger, faster, better roster without doing that. And now I can hear people rolling their eyes at me saying, well, they tried this in the past and these guys stink. They have not delivered as far as drafting defensive ends. Hell, last year, JT Tuimoloau barely played. But to me, you have to keep swinging. Otherwise, the comment that I got, which is a reasonable one, is saying, well, it hasn't worked in the draft. Just hit free agency. But my counter to that is a lot of free agency defensive ends are older and more expensive and still flawed as a draft pick would be. So I think you had a double dip. You draft one, you pick up perhaps one or two in free agency, and you go from there.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all of that. I don't, just because you've missed doesn't mean that all of a sudden you stop and sweep it under the rug and say, yeah, we'll figure it out elsewhere. First off, you don't have the cap space to attack it in free agency to the magnitude that I think you need to. And I agree with Chris Ballard when he says we need to get younger and faster defensively.
Right.
Like, I mean,
the Trey Hendrickson thing doesn't make sense to me.
You are an older defense, and the Trey Hendrickson thing would put you still in the old and injured category there with some major question marks. So, Kwity Paye, Samson Ebukam, and Tycon Lewis are all free agents.
Should any of them be brought back?
Exactly. So if you let all of them walk, James, you've probably done the math at some point here. Add up all those snaps. You imagine how many snaps Paye, Ebukam, and Lewis played for you last year?
Yeah.
Who are you replacing that with?
9 sacks combined, by the way. Those 3 players.
I guess Tuimoloau takes on a little bit of a bigger role, but again, even he, didn't do much as a rookie. So I look at it as free agency and then double dipping again in the draft.
I just don't think you should limit an avenue to try to get better.
Right.
Can't pigeonhole yourself.
Linebacker needs, I would say, a decently early pick. I think safety is interesting. I don't believe you had a safety until round 7. I'll be curious how they look there. Can they find a cheaper version than Nick Cross brought back? I think free agency offers, or at least at recent years, has offered that type of market to be there, but is safety one that they could look at a little bit more in the middle rounds. One aspect to New England this season, they drafted Craig Woodson, 4th-round safety, ended up playing the most defensive snaps for them. So, is that a position where, maybe it's a little bit more of a cerebral pick? But again, Lou Anarumo, he's just never been one to play the young guys. So I am definitely a fan of drafting an edge rusher. And that doesn't mean for 1 second I'm going to undermine it in free agency.
I think there's a lot of ways you have to try to retool this roster. And again, you don't want to take away one of your avenues to do so. So again, I leaned heavily towards the defense in the earlier rounds and then kind of backfilled with some of the offensive needs. And so, again, when I take Chris Ballard's words to heart with the younger and faster defense, and I do think looking at this roster as a whole, that is where the majority of your deficiencies lie. Still a question mark as far as what version of Daniel Jones you will get, but I just don't necessarily think that you can go out there and, take a wide receiver in round 2 and take an offensive lineman in round 3 and say that you're really improving your team in areas that are the biggest drop-offs or the biggest problems. So we'll see how it all shakes out. And I do think, again, I'm excited to hear from, well, I probably shouldn't say the word excited, but I'm interested to hear from Chris Ballard coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Don't you guys remember how low those helicopters were during the 500 warm-up laps last year?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I thought I was like, is the camera playing tricks on me, or is that way lower than it usually is?
It was incredible. I mean, we sit pretty much the start of turn 1, and I'm like, that thing's going to hit the pagoda. I mean, like, I legitimately felt like it was going. It was just, boy, we talked with Doug Bowles about that earlier. Oh, my gosh. And again, the surprise nature to it, I think, is probably what struck so many people. And then it sounds like they're very open to that here coming up again here this season. So that was some of the conversation we had with Doug Bowles earlier.
Hopefully it's a little warmer.
The
cool track last year kind of made some things interesting.
Boy, the high temp there when that green flag dropped, I don't know if it'd be much different than the high temp today.
Yeah, fair enough.
Good thing on February 13th, not a good thing on May 20, whatever. All right, we'll do it one final time here. Fan Morning Show, closing out the week on a Friday.
Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Nothing says Valentine's Day weekend like a little T-Swift action to round it out from the great Mark Dykton.
Couldn't get out of here on Valentine's Day without one of these.
Excellent as always on his re-entries. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to my wonderful, amazing, lovely wife. Our wedding anniversary actually is coming up on Monday. Little does she know, my first love is the jersey I'm rocking.
That's your old password.
I was going to say, I think that might be, pretty evident.
It was, Mark. My first password. Honestly, it might be my password still and a couple other. I won't say what else is involved, but I love Luke Herringody more than just about anything.
Logging into Kevin Bowen's MySpace, see what his top 8 was.
This reminds me of, did you see the video of the Seahawks fan? He's at Super Bowl with his wife, and she's videotaping him and his reaction after they won it. And he goes, "This is the greatest day of my life." And then she clips and she like turns the camera on and stuff's like, "Greatest day of your life." And then she throws into this video like pictures of them at the wedding day and things like that. I just laughed out loud like, that's you, Kevin.
Oh, God.
Can't deny your first love.
Sports fandom does make you have to check yourself as like a husband and a father. Like,
does it really, man?
Cubs won the World Series. Like, where's this rank?
I've said it before. I got engaged on April 14th, 2018, and Tiger Woods won the Masters on April 14th, 2019. And you could have a great debate class on which day was more important.
The Bears beating the Packers in the playoffs was right up there for me.
Now,
sorry, kids. Just means more sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you. SEC conference right there, motto. Now, James, you brought this up earlier. The reason why I'm rocking the Luke Herringody jersey, he was making the rounds, highlight reel yesterday on social media, right? And you came across Luke Herringody highlights, and that made me very excited to talk about.
I did, yeah. So I follow a bunch of these pages, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that will have like the throwback performances you kind of forgot about or the throwback players you forgot about. I'm not saying you would ever forget about Luke Herringody.
No, but he's as throwback as it gets.
But it's wild to watch it. And it kind of reminds you, at least for me, it's nostalgic to see how college basketball used to be when, the Big East was the Big East and things like the Big Ten was not, including Western Coast teams and stuff like that, West Coast teams. So, yeah, I enjoy that. And you kind of forget just how many great players come through. They didn't go to the NBA, didn't have, the all-star game or whatever selection, but were just killers at that level.
How funny was his game? Like his bag is unlike any other.
Yeah. You know who else I watched the other day? Grievous Vasquez. Remember him?
Yeah. Maryland.
Like, again, these guys are not like household names beyond diehard college basketball fans, but he was amazing.
Some say Valentine's Day is spending it with your significant other. Some might say, let's all go to a bar and name random college basketball players for the next 3 hours.
That is one of my labors of love right there.
Let's go. I will say this. Matty Bowen did pull this jersey out of storage a few weeks ago down in the old basement and said, and I hadn't said it. All of a sudden, she pulls the jersey out. She holds it up. And before I even say a word, she goes, "I assume you're going to want Max to wear this one day."
Yeah.
Whatever you want, you can have the world, Mads.
Oh, yeah.
But I love you so much, babe. Can I have a hug? And then she's like, "Don't touch me." And then she offered the jersey up. She said, "We're going to keep it." Again, we got in the Sports Illustrated debate a few weeks ago, guys.
Whatever happened with that?
They are deep in the storage.
Okay, I was making sure I knew you had a little water issue.
I thought the flooded basement was going to take their lives. And I thought Maddie might have purposely flooded the basement
Take
too.
their lives is crazy.
Well, the swimsuit issues would have been fine. They would have just floated to the top.
Those are up. Those are up. Those are in the attic.
That's a dad joke, I think.
That is a great dad joke. Can you say that a little slower for those that might have missed that?
I said the swimsuit issues would have been fine. They would have just floated to the top.
And why is that?
Well, they're ready for the water.
Tyra
Banks, you're saved.
That is, oh boy, I'm diving in there to save Miss Banks for good reason. That is the voice of Mark Dykton, in case you needed any reminder. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen. Jeff will be back with us. We actually don't have a show on Monday. I didn't know we actually had President's Day off, but I guess no show. And weirdly, we don't really have a ton to talk about, I guess, from a sports cycle standpoint. IU Illinois, 1 o'clock on Sunday, though.
Oh, yeah.
That is probably the marquee game of the weekend there. Purdue and Iowa, that is Saturday at 5 o'clock. Reminder, the Pacers will get back to practice on Tuesday. They do the late practice coming back from the All-Star break. They'll go back-to-back with a team very near them in the tank standings, Washington Thursday and Friday.
And everyone better be out there, according to the NBA.
Do you think we get a statement from the Pacers today on the fine?
I do not. I think teams have gotten fined in the past, and they have not really said much of anything.
The Jazz owner did chime in on Twitter.
Yeah, but it wasn't like an official statement. It was more or less him venting through Twitter. Like, I think there might have been been an emoji in his tweet or something like that. So it wasn't anything of like the boring official, the league said this, the NBA said this, so now the team as an organization says this. It wasn't that.
We already have the unofficial Pacers declaration.
What a screwing that was.
Exactly.
I'm scrolling.
Just print that out. Send it like the Jordan fax. That's all you got to say.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through Ryan Smith's Twitter, and yes, James, for those unfamiliar with the owner of the Jazz, young dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's rocking backwards hat in the Twitter profile.
Oh, yeah.
Him and McAfee, I think, are pretty close. Like, we've seen them
I believe
schmoozing
D.
a little
Wade
bit.
is also, I'm already owner of the Jazz, by the way. Just random knowledge, but go ahead.
So Bobby Marks tweeted this: tanking fines is like paying the luxury tax in the prior CBA. If it gives you a competitive advantage, or in this case, a chance to draft and keep an impact player, billionaire owners will pay the fine. Now, if we start taking away other roster resources, that's a different story.
Right.
And we've brought that up today. Like, when do they start taking away ping pong balls? That's the question I have. When do they move you to the back of the lottery for a punishment? Ryan Smith retweeted that tweet from Bobby Marks, again, the owner of the Jazz, and goes, "Hey, Bobby, maybe sit this one out. You have no clue what pain this is like, and your amnesia this week is comical."
That sounds like a guy who could use some dad jokes in his life, too, right now.
That sounds like something Herb Simon probably won't be saying on Twitter today. Is that accurate?
Very accurate. And I think that was also a veiled shot at when Bobby Marks was an assistant general manager for the Brooklyn Nets, who weren't all that great during his tenure.
Oh, man. I hate this topic so much. I hate it. I mean, I get its reality. It sucks. There's no running from it. Clearly, the Pacers want a top 4 pick. I think it's selective punishment. Where are the Wizards in this? Where are the Kings in this? But, gosh, man, this is exhausting.
I hear you. I think I hate any topic that makes me read the CBA or a policy or all this jargon like I'm in a courtroom. I mean, I'd rather talk about the actual hoops.
Meritocracy of sports is what I love. The unscripted nature,
Yes.
not this BS.
I'm looking up words and using a thesaurus to understand what the heck the NBA is telling me.
Mark, one more dad joke.
Oh, I don't have one handy, man. Oh, wait. No, we don't have time. Dang it.
Mark Dykton, I've never seen him laugh so hard.
Oh, what did Salt say to the pepper on Valentine's Day? Ooh, baby, baby. There you go.